Chapter 8:10. At that moment, the song that Daji was playing suddenly carried a murderous aura, because Daji thought of that damned fly. It actually circled around her beloved master, and disturbed her master's peace. It was truly unforgivable. Bih! A slight sound could be heard, and the veins on the back of Chu Ziming's hands suddenly burst. Yuan Qing, who was at the side, was the same as well. The veins on the back of his hands burst, and blood instantly gushed out. However, they could only watch, unable to do anything. Although Lin Tianxin, who was at the back, couldn't feel it, the boundless fear made her sit on the ground. Master and martial uncle actually can't win against her, and are about to die. What should I do? Why is the powerful benevolent king prison actually unable to win against a woman? Just what is going on? Just who is that woman, and who are those people? Along with Daji's powerful killing intent, the blood vessels under the two skin burst one after another, especially the rupture of the main arteries. Blood sprayed onto the ground like a fountain, and very quickly, a small pool of blood was formed. However, Chu Ziming and Yuan Qing could only watch as their blood was drained, unable to do anything. Just like what Daji said, letting their blood spill all over the ground. Using red to celebrate the meeting and getting to know their master. What a lovely day. Along with Daji's final note, the two suddenly cried out, "No!" Boom. Chu Ziming and Yuan Qing's bodies could be seen exploding, and their blood scattered everywhere. Even Lin Tianxin, who was at the back, was covered with blood. Right now Daji had her beautiful eyes closed. Killing was secondary. The zither she played just now was just to tell her master how much she looked forward to the arrival of this day. The end of the year had finally arrived, and in the future, she wouldn't be lonely anymore. Because she had master, her life became colorful, and there was sunlight. Good. Well played. Yihua suddenly shouted out, then clapped his hands to show his praise. If the seven sins were here, they would definitely be unhappy. For the first time, the Supreme Overlord clapped and praised Daji. However, this time, Qingye and the other two clapped as well. Daji's song was indeed profound, and this applause was what she deserved. Wang Yi's brain was buzzing, and he who was weak was completely at a loss. He had already fallen into the zither music. Hearing her master's praise, Daji opened her beautiful eyes, and the white zither on her body instantly disappeared. She turned around shyly. "Master, madams are flattering me. I hope that Daji's zither skills can enter your ears," Yihua said with a smile. Daji is being too modest. Her performance is very good, causing those women to want to snatch Daji away from me. Daji walked respectfully to Yihua and knelt down, then said shyly, "Daji is master's." Yihua raised his eyebrows at his wives. "Do you all see that? Daji is mine, and you all won't be able to snatch her away from me." The three wives pursed their lips. In the future, they would try to poach him. "Daji, do you know any other talents?" Qingye asked curiously. Daji looked at Qingye and said respectfully, "Madam, in the past tens of thousands of years, I have learned all kinds of musical instruments, calligraphy, dance, tea ceremony, chess, and so on, just to make you smile." Hearing these words, Yihua felt very comfortable in his heart. This bastard is even more eloquent than my subordinates. Yihua stretched out his hand and patted on Daji's head. Not bad. Feeling her master's touch, Daji was so excited that she was trembling. Soon after, Daji lowered her head and said emotionally, "Master, Daji was born for you in this life. To be able to make Master happy is what Daji has to do in this life." Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were puzzled. Why is this Daji so hellbent on Yihua? Qing Yutong couldn't help but ask, "System, do all summoned characters operate like this?" "Master, that is indeed correct. When a character's loyalty reaches 100, this kind of situation will occur. Daji's loyalty is clearly above 100. As long as your brother-in-law says the word, she will be able to do anything. Even if she were to commit suicide, she would still feel honored. The heck, this is already a brainless worship." "That's right, Master. This is the advantage of the summoning system. However, it is very difficult to achieve this kind of loyalty. Qing Yutong is really envious of brother-in-law. To have such an obedient maid. And the main point is that the maid is proficient in all kinds of musical instruments. I wonder if the maid knows how to play the flute. When the time comes, it should be good to have a duet. Brother-in-law will be extremely happy. Daji, get up. Thank you, master. Master, are you thirsty? Daji will make tea for you. Sure. Yi Hua said straightforwardly. Yi Hua was in a great mood. This one is not bad. If it wasn't for me saying that I will go to the martial arts arena, I definitely wouldn't have met such a considerate maid. Yi Hua took over the tea that Daji brewed and lightly took a sip. The tea is indeed fragrant. Looking at Qinya and the others, Daji was very shy as she sat at the side and carefully brewed the tea. To have such a maid who knows how to kill and take care of others, damn. Daji is much better than those subordinates of mine who only know how to kill. Wani, Yi Hua called out lightly. Wani was still stupefied. Yi Hua flicked his finger helplessly, and the latter's body trembled. What happened? What happened? Master, you were bewitched just now. Luckily, those people don't have any ill intentions. Hearing what the system said, Wani let out a breath of relief. Seems like brother ? Is a good person. Wani, Yi Hua shouted out again. Brother ? What happened? Yi Hua looked towards Lin Tianxin who was outside and said, I will leave that woman for you to deal with. Wan Yi's eyes lit up as he cupped his hands and shouted out earnestly, Thank you, brother ? Wan Yi stood up and walked towards Lin Tianxin. Back then this woman was extremely obedient towards me, and when she no longer needed me, she would kick me away. As my fiancé, she fooled around with another man. I have long wanted to kill this slut, and now the chance is here. Wan Yi walked in front of Lin Tianxin and picked up Lin Tianxin's sword. Clang, Wan Yi took out the sharp long sword. Meanwhile, Lin Tianxin seemed to have come back to her senses. Looking at Wan Yi's cold look, she couldn't help but take a step back. Wan Yi, what are you trying to do? Slut. What do you think I am trying to do? Wan Yi asked with an evil smile on his face. Looking at Lin Tianxin's fearful look, he felt extremely pleased. If it wasn't for brother ? Being here today, this woman would have brought the old man to humiliate me. Wan Yi, you can't kill me. I am someone from the benevolent king prison. Lin Tianxin sat on the ground and moved her hands backwards, while Wan Yi walked towards her step by step. Hee, so what if it's the benevolent king prison? The people who died here are all people from the benevolent king prison. Lin Tianxin was already leaning against the wall, and had nowhere to retreat to. At this moment, Lin Tianxin immediately begged. Wan Yi, have you forgotten that we still have some happy times in the future? Please spare me this time. I won't dare to do it again in the future. It's too late. That is impossible. If you have the ability, let's make a 3-year agreement. If you are able to defeat me 3 years later, I will become your slave. How about it? End of this chapter. Chapter 8:11. Wan Yi coldly snorted. Without any hesitation, the long sword in his hand slit Lin Tianxin's neck. Lin Tianxin covered her neck and looked at Wan Yi in disbelief. A 3-year agreement? You've read too many F*King novels. With a sarcastic smile on his face, Wan Yi walked away without looking back. Lin Tianxin clutched her neck, unable to speak. Her pretty face was deathly pale, and her legs twitched slightly. Not long after, she died due to excessive blood loss. The sword-wielding Wan Yi came to the side of the fainted Star Abyss again. This old man was so evil. Today he was even backing up that slut. Since I've already killed him, it doesn't matter if you're one more. Brandishing the sword and stabbing straight at the heart, the dizzy Star Abyss died painlessly. Throwing the sword on the ground, Wan Yi walked back to the main hall. Brother ? It's done. While drinking his tea, Yi Hua nodded his head with a smile and asked, It will bring you trouble, right? It's fine. At most, I'll just run away. Today, I've gotten my revenge. It feels good. Wan Yi had already thought it through. It was time for him to go out and train. As the main character, he shouldn't continue like this. Perhaps this was the plot's deduction. Daji, go and get rid of those bodies. Yes, master. Yi Hua didn't want to bring trouble to others. In the end, this was his own problem. Furthermore, this could be considered as him thanking Wan Yi for bringing Daji to him. Daji returned in an instant and said in a delicate voice, Master, it's done. And Daji sure is obedient. Yihua gave a verbal performance. Listening to Master is what Daji should do. Master, please stop praising Daji. Aha. On the other hand, Yihua was amused by Daji, and even Qinya and Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. Daji's appearance caused everyone to laugh a bit more, and this might not be a bad thing. What if he went out to take a look and saw that all the corpses had disappeared? Even the blood was gone. How did Daji do it? What if? You can be at ease. I won't cause you any trouble. Yihua said faintly. Wani was extremely grateful. Brother ? Thank you. What are your plans for the future? Yihua asked curiously. Wani took a deep breath and said, Brother ? I'm going to train. Not a bad decision. Men should fight everywhere. Yes, brother ? You're right. In the past, he didn't go out because of the knot in his heart. Now that he was dead, he could go out with peace of mind. Of course, he didn't plan to follow ? Bro, and make a name for himself. When Qinya and Donghuang Baiji heard Yihua's words, both of them couldn't help but want to ridicule him. You let the children go out and play by yourself, and you still want to fight everywhere? I'm afraid that you are fighting us on the bed. Not long after, the Wan clan's gate was barged in. A group of soldiers walked in with spears in their hands, surrounding the front hall. A man wearing silver armor walked in with a gloomy expression. Master, do you need Daji to get rid of these people? Daji said in a sweet voice. Only Daji could use such a tone to talk about killing people. Yihua didn't say anything. Daji understood, and thus, she knelt at the side and poured more tea for her master and madams. At this time, Wani went out to welcome him. With a smile he asked, General Zhang has suddenly come to visit. When will you be? Zhang Jing was the Azure Dragon Empire's great general who was guarding the city. Just now he saw the signal from Qingren prison, and thus he rushed over to take a look. However, when he walked in, he discovered that there was nothing at all. Did you see anyone from Qingren prison just now? Zhang Jing asked gravely. A few of his subordinates had already gone to the backyard to search. I saw them, Wani said with a smile. Where are they? They left. Zhang Jing took a look at Wani confusedly, and suddenly, his gaze was attracted by a woman who was kneeling on the ground. This woman is so charming. How can there be such a woman in this world? She is even kneeling on the ground and making tea. As for the 4 women who were kneeling on the ground, those 3 women. How can these 4 women look like this? They are simply ridiculously beautiful. Who is that man? General Zhang. These 4 women are my guests. Wani said with a smile. Yi Huaman drank his tea and didn't say anything. Zhang Jing was shocked by the appearance of the 4 women. Not long later, a soldier came over and reported, General Zhang, we searched all of them, but we didn't find anything. Zhang Jing retracted his gaze. Wani, don't lie to me. How can that be? I can't afford to offend the people from Qingren prison. Zhang Jing took one last look at the 4 women, then left with his soldiers. Wani pursed his lips and returned to the lobby. Who is this person? Yihua asked curiously. Just now, I clearly felt that there was something wrong with that person's gaze. Zhang Jing, the general who guards the city, has a very good relationship with the crown prince. I reckon that. Speaking till here, Wani stopped. Yihua knew what Wani wanted to say and said with a smile. Qinya, you 2 are going to cause trouble for your husband again. Humph, Qinya snorted. Is it my fault for looking like this? Isn't it because I'm giving you face? You've taken all the advantages, yet you're still making sarcastic remarks. Bad guys on the other hand, Qin Yutong was very happy. Do you guys think that this General Zhang will go and tell the Crown Prince? Wow, Your Highness the Crown Prince. I discovered 4 great beauties. Should I capture them? Qin Yutong. What are you doing? Qinya couldn't help but say. You are already someone's wife, yet you are still playing around like this. Yihua patted onto the back of Qinya's hand. Don't always blame Yutong. Yutong is already very obedient. Don't lower yourself to the level of a child. Qin Yutong thought that her brother-in-law was speaking up for her, but in the end, brother-in-law sister, you 2 can bully me humph. Daji, let's go play. Madam, Daji still has to serve master and madam, I can't go and play. Qin Yutong rolled her eyes and sat down angrily. I still feel that playing with Yi Zizi is more interesting. After I go back, I will team up with Yi Zizi and go out to cause trouble. Just like what Qing Yutong had guessed, Zhang Jing immediately entered the palace to meet the crown prince. When Zhang Jing walked into the crown prince's bedroom, he could hear the sound of women playing around. Aya, my little darling, where are you? Quickly come and give us a hug. Crown prince, we are here, come and give us a hug. Haha, if you let me hug you, you two will be in for a good time. Little mischievous. Crown Prince Gu Haoran could be seen having a slightly plump figure, and currently he was playing around with the palace maids with his eyes covered. Afterward he hugged onto Zhang Jing and said with a smile, Haha, this crown prince is finally going to hug you. Let's see where you can run to. After finished speaking, he even spanked onto Zhang Jing's butt. This made Zhang Jing feel very awkward. While the palace maids laughed continuously, Gu Haoran seemed to have felt that there was a problem with his hands. Thus he took off his eye mask, and the corner of his mouth twitched. General Zhang, when did you come? Your Highness, this general has something to report to you, Zhang Jing said in a deep voice, then gestured to the palace maids that were at the side. Gu Haoran smiled, then waved his hand and shouted, all of you can leave first. The palace maids respectfully left, and only Gu Haoran and Zhang Jing were left. Gu Haoran poured a cup of tea for himself, then drank it and asked, what's the matter? What kind of beauty did you discover? End of this chapter. Chapter 8:12. Your Highness, I have indeed discovered a peerless beauty today, Zhang Jing said with a different kind of excitement. Hearing Zhang Jing's words, Gu Haoran chuckled. With your eyesight, you might be able to describe any ghost as beautiful. Crown Prince, there's no mistake this time. Those four women are truly devastatingly beautiful. No. This general feels that there are no words to describe her beauty. Each of them has their own merits. She is the most beautiful woman this general has ever seen in his life. Zhang Jing was speaking from the bottom of her heart. Compared to the other four women, she even doubted whether her wife was a female. This time Gu Haoran's interest was piqued. He wanted to see what she looked like. It had to be said that Daji's passive ability to draw aggro was not for nothing, but to be able to look like this, it was all because she could draw aggro. For a woman like Yi Hua to be able to obtain even a single one of them was a gift from the heavens. And for Yi Hua to be able to obtain four of them, how could people not be jealous of him? Where? Gu Haoran asked curiously. I'll be a guest at the Wan residence, Zhang Jing said respectfully. Gu Haoran rubbed his forehead and murmured, recently my brothers have been eyeing this crown prince covetously. If I leave the palace now, I will definitely attract trouble. Crown Prince, why don't we invite them into the palace? Zhang Jing suggested. There has to be a reason. Isn't the palace hosting a banquet to entertain the warden of King Ren Penitentiary? Zhang Jing reminded him in a low voice. Gu Haoran frowned slightly. What if the people of the benevolent king's prison take a liking to him? Then let's go with the flow and ensure that the crown prince ascends to the throne. Gu Haoran suddenly laughed and said, Zhang Jing, your brain is getting more and more active. You can even think of such a way. The crown prince's luck is as good as the heavens. Even without him, he can still smoothly ascend to the throne. Go and arrange it. Yes. Zhang Jing left respectfully. Gu Haoran stretched his neck and shouted, come on in. Let's start the game. The palace maids walked in again and played hide and seek. Zhang Jing rushed to the Wan clan without stopping. This time, she didn't bring any troops. Right now, Yi Hua was currently listening to music with his wives in the garden. The one who was playing the music was naturally Daji, and even Qing Yutong, who loved to make trouble, was mesmerized by the music. From this, it could be seen just how deep Daji's foundation in music was. And Wani was lucky enough to hear such a song. The system even told him that his experience points increased very quickly. Let master listen more. At this time, Zhang Jing also came to the garden. She heard the beautiful melody from afar, and stood on the stone bridge in a daze. A pair of eyes looked at Daji, who was playing. Every movement, every expression, and even every gaze of hers was filled with charm. It could even make one unable to look away. Her slender fingers could actually be so beautiful. It was as if he wanted to rush up and kneel on the ground to lick her slender fingers. That would be a very satisfying thing. The temptation of Daji was quite strong, and it was doubled when she played it. Even Zhang Jing, who had fought a bloody battle on the battlefield, was mesmerized. He couldn't help but want to lick her. Daji would look at her master from time to time, her gaze filled with infinite shyness. If she could snuggle up to her master's feet, it would be such an honor. Yihua sipped on the wine and listened to the song leisurely. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji had a smile on their faces. They felt that Daji was indeed extraordinary, and they found the right maid. I heard that Daji's culinary skills are very good too. I can finally relax now. I have already served Yihua for a few years. It is time for me to take a break. He even wants me to wash his socks. He is truly a super lazy man. When the last note of the song ended, Daji stood up with a respectful smile. Master, do you like Daji's music? It is very good. Daji, you have to develop in this area in the future. Let me relieve my boredom. Yihua said lightly and gave Daji encouragement. This made Daji very excited. After all, she had obtained her master's approval. Master, don't worry, Daji will learn more songs in the future. Zhang Jing recovered from her daze. That woman who is playing the song is actually that man's maid? How is this possible? He actually used such a beautiful woman as his maid. No man would be able to tolerate such a thing happening. Such a woman shouldn't belong to a single person. She belongs to the entire Kangluo continent. Yihua had long sensed that General Zhang had come. With how beautiful his wife and maid are, if I didn't come, then I really have no taste. General Zhang's presence brings light to my humble abode once again. Wani stood up and cupped his hands as he shouted. Zhang Jing laughed heartily, patted on Wan Yi's shoulder, then cupped his hands towards Daji and said, The song that young lady played can only be found in the heavens. It makes me feel ashamed. Daji looked towards Yihua. Master told Daji to kill this man, and Daji will only accept praise from Master and Madam. If other people were to praise Daji, it would be looking down on Daji. Yihua didn't say anything. He wanted to see what General Zhang wanted to do. Daji could only obey. If Master were to nod his head, this General Zhang's head would immediately fall without any hesitation. If you have anything to say, just say it. Qingye said faintly. Zhang Jing was able to understand. For a woman who looks like this, it is normal for her to be a bit cold and arrogant. His Highness the Crown Prince invites the 4 ladies to attend a banquet in the palace. All right. Qing Yutong agreed without even thinking. Qingye glared at her little sister. How can you agree so casually? Look at how your brother-in-law didn't even agree to it. When you are outside, you have to listen to men. How can you be so careless? Zhang Jing hurriedly said. Then the Crown Prince will be waiting for the 4 ladies in the palace. I will take my leave now. After finished speaking, Zhang Jing left. Seeing that her brother-in-law's expression seemed to be very bad, Qing Yutong thought that her brother-in-law was angry. Brother-in-law, I'm sorry, you can hit Yutong. Qing Yutong hurriedly admitted her mistake. Being mischievous is one thing, but one cannot cross the line. Qingye hurriedly pleaded for her little sister. Yihua, Yutong didn't do it on purpose, don't be angry. That's right, Yutong is still young. Donghuang Baiji also spoke up. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth in grievance. Brother-in-law, Yutong is still young, she doesn't know much. Yihua suddenly slammed onto the table, giving the 3 women a shock. They thought that Yihua was going to marry Yu Qingtong. There is actually no part for me. Yihua shouted out gravely. Everyone. I thought that Yihua was angry because Qing Yutong made the decision on her own. But it turns out that Yihua was angry because Qing Yutong didn't invite him. Qing Yutong let out a sigh of relief. I was scared to death. Brother-in-law is still very scary when he is angry. Alright, don't be angry anymore. We will just not go. We will accompany you tonight. Qingye consoled Qing Yutong, as if she was coaxing a little child. No need, you guys go. I want to see what that crown prince is going to play. Yihua originally planned to go together with them and show off for a bit, but since Qing Yutong didn't invite him and he still went, it would seem like he lost his face. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:13. Yihua said faintly, All of you should go tonight and amaze them. Do these ordinary people know what beauty is? It is best to create some trouble. When Qin Yutong heard this, she immediately agreed. Brother-in-law, don't worry. Yutong is experienced in creating trouble. How big do you want? Yutong, how big can you make it? Yihua, don't let Yutong create trouble. What's so good about a banquet in the palace? We will accompany you at home. Dong Huangbaiji said gently. All of you go, don't embarrass me. It is decided. Daji, follow the madam well tonight. Master, Daji understands. Daji said respectfully. If I am slightly worried, not about these 4 question marks but about those nobles. 4 question marks. Just thinking about it is terrifying. Daji, come and help me massage my shoulders. Yihua said faintly. Such a beautiful maid, of course, I have to try out my skills. Daji looked towards the madam, and thought that the madam was going to stop him. Who knew that the madams didn't stop him? They knew that even if they didn't let Daji massage his shoulders now, Yihua would secretly let Daji massage his shoulders in the future. This Daji is really worried. To be more accurate, she is worried about Yihua. Maids naturally have to serve him when he goes to bed. Yihua was just joking. He didn't expect his wives to agree. Not bad, as expected of my wives. Daji walked towards Yihua shyly and stood behind him. Looking at her master's back, Daji's heartbeat started speeding up. His shoulders seemed to be able to carry the entire world. Oh my god, I am about to touch master's shoulders. I am so excited. I feel like my life has reached its climax. Daji, who was trembling in excitement, stretched out her arms and lightly placed them on her master's shoulders. She felt like she was electrocuted. Her body couldn't help but tremble as if she had already reached her climax. Lightly rubbing her master's shoulders, Daji asked, Master, is this strength okay? Yes, my skills are not bad. Thank you for your praise, Master. This is what I should do. Yihua smiled and said to Qinye and Donghuang Baiji, You two can try too, Daji's skills are not bad. Yihua's 2 wives rolled their eyes at Yihua. The sky gradually darkened. A carriage arrived at the entrance of the Wan residence, claiming that it was arranged by the crown prince. Qinye had no choice but to participate. Wait, come back here. Yihua said gravely. What's wrong? Qinye asked curiously. Look at what the 2 of you are wearing. Quickly go and change into a set of better-looking clothes. Yihua felt that the 2 of them could become even more beautiful, so he hurriedly told them to go and change into a set of better-looking clothes. It's pretty good. There's no need to change. Yihua directly held onto his 3 wives' hands, then called Daji over and walked towards the room. Yihua personally picked out clothes for the 3 wives. Since they were already an old couple, there was no need for them to hide anything and change their clothes in front of Yihua. Daji, on the other hand, didn't change for a long time. I feel so shy. Yihua, what are you still standing here for? Hurry up and go out. Daji is about to change her clothes. Donghuang Baiji laughed. Looking at how shy that Daji is, it seems like she is a good girl. Daji hurriedly explained. Madam, Master doesn't have to go out. I'll change it now. Alright, I'll go out first. Yihua said faintly, then walked out of the room. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not that anxious. In any case, she is my maid, and I will have a lot of opportunities in the future. Daji was feeling regretful in her heart. If only I had plucked up my courage to take off my clothes just now. I am really useless. After the 4 women finished changing their clothes, they took a look at each other, and the corner of their mouths twitched slightly. Ordinary dresses were rather loose, and this kind of dress was made just like a cheongsam. It looked strange but very sexy. What is this Yihua thinking, to actually make us dress like this? Qinye pouted her mouth. It has been a long time since I dressed like this, and it feels a bit awkward. Recently, I seem to have developed a bit more, and my chest feels a bit heavy. Donghuang Baiji laughed tenderly. You still don't know him, he just wants to see other people's envious gazes, then suddenly appear and display his ownership. After that, we will cooperate and attach ourselves to him, thus achieving the effect of acting cool. As expected, he just likes to act cool. This bad habit of his will never be able to be changed in this lifetime. Qinye said helplessly. In the past, Yihua suffered from acting cool after smoking syndrome, and now that he smoked less, there was no way for him to act cool anymore. Thus he used his wives to act cool. This is simply too shameless. When Qin Yutong, who was at the side, saw that Daji was still buttoning her clothes, she walked over with a cheeky smile. Daji, you don't know how to button your clothes? Madam, I can't hook my back. Daji said apologetically. It's fine, I will help you zip it up. Qin Yutong followed along Daji's perky butt and pulled up the zipper. Daji's sexy back was immediately covered by a pair of clothes. What a pity. Daji hurriedly turned around and said respectfully, Madam, Daji is ashamed for asking you to help me. Qin Yutong said with a smile, Daji, it's fine. After finished speaking, Qin Yutong even lifted up Daji's chin, looking very flirtatious. Meanwhile, Daji was a bit afraid. What is Madam trying to do? Qin Yutong. You are bullying others again. Qinya was originally chatting with Donghuang Baiji, and when she suddenly saw that her little sister was bullying others, she couldn't help but start scolding Donghuang Baiji. Qin Yutong hurriedly stopped and said with a smile, Big sister, Daji's face is a bit dirty. Let me help you wipe it. Qin Yutong, you better be careful. Be careful that I don't spank your butt. Qinya gave a stern warning. Qin Yutong stuck out her tongue, then blinked her beautiful eyes towards Daji, looking very flirtatious. Daji slightly lowered her head and did not speak anymore. When he saw his 3 wives and a maid walking out, he couldn't help but become absent-minded. Oh my beautiful. Too beautiful. As expected of my woman. She definitely won't lose face. Are you satisfied now? Qinya said petulantly. Haha, satisfied. Yihua stretched out his hand and hugged onto Qinya's waist, then lightly kissed onto Qinya's soft cherry lips. Qinya did not feel shy and hugged onto Yihua's neck. Yihua naturally had to give Donghuang Baiji and Qin Yutong the same treatment. This caused Daji, who was at the side, to feel extremely envious. If I am able to kiss the back of my master's hand, I will be extremely happy. If I am able to kiss my master's lips, I will even wake up from my sleep laughing. Yihua naturally wouldn't take advantage of Daji, but he still patted onto Daji's head and said lightly, Take good care of Madam. After being patted onto the head by her master so gently, Daji became completely stupefied. She even forgot how she walked out of one residence, and when she sat on the carriage, she had a completely stupefied look on her face. Qinya and the others saw this. This Daji, she became so stupefied after being patted on the head by her husband. We are truly speechless. Meanwhile, at the entrance of one residence, Yihua watched as his wives left. End of chapter. Chapter 8:14. They were always following him, so it was time for him to have some fun. What if? Yihua shouted out faintly. Brother ? What's wrong? There is a void empire in the north. It is very safe there. You can arrange for your parents to do business there. Yihua reminded. If we continue to stay here, something bad will definitely happen. After all, my parents are just ordinary people, right? Wani instantly understood what brother ? meant. This brother ? was really a good person. And I understand. Yihua nodded his head, then walked into the house. Tonight, I will let them out and have some fun. With him by their side, they couldn't let go of themselves. Why did she feel like a tyrant, suppressing them every day? On the other side, Qinya, who was inside the car, took out the face veil that she had prepared beforehand and put it on. After the 4 women put on the face veil, it truly added a different kind of charm to the atmosphere. The coachman was still in a daze. It was the first time he had seen such a woman. When he first came out, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Because it was the crown prince's carriage, it entered the imperial palace unimpeded. This palace is so lame, Qin Yutong teased. Compared to Wushu Empire's imperial palace, this place was basically nothing. There was basically no aura of an emperor. Do you think that everyone is as pretentious as your brother-in-law? Qinya laughed. Sister, how can you think that brother-in-law is acting cool? Brother-in-law is just powerful. He doesn't need to act cool at all. He is just acting cool. Following Qin Yutong's words, the carriage became quiet for a moment. Then joyful laughter burst out, and even Daji laughed. It was only because Yihua wasn't here that Qin Yutong dared to ridicule Yihua like this. If Yihua was here, how would Qin Yutong dare to ridicule Yihua? This was also the reason why Yihua told his wives to go out and play by themselves. There were some things that they didn't dare to say in front of me, fearing that I would lose my temper. Sure, Yutong, aren't you afraid that I would go and complain about you? To actually dare to scold Yihua like that? Donghuang Baiji said with a smile. Qin Yutong spread out her hands. In any case, brother-in-law isn't here, so let us ridicule him. Big sister, you go first. I won't say any more. Qinya pursed her lips, seemingly not daring to say anything. Sis, say it. We're all on the same side. It's not easy for us to come out for a breather. Qin Yutong hurriedly persuaded. I really want to hear how big sister roasts brother-in-law. It has already been so many years. It is impossible for her to not roast brother-in-law. And also, big sister Baiji, I don't believe that they will not have any complaints. Go ahead. It seemed like Qinya still didn't want to say it. I'm really afraid that I might accidentally say everything out. Qin Yutong's eyes lit up. Daji. Madam. Daji replied respectfully. The things that we are going to talk about next, don't tell your brother-in-law. Qin Yutong's eyebrows twitched, and with a "if you dare to tell on me, I will bully you to death" look. Daji nodded. Ladies, don't worry. I won't tell master. Good girl. Qin Yutong laughed, then said towards Qinya. Big sister, you can say it now. I guarantee that no one will tell brother-in-law about it. Qinya pouted her mouth. If you dare to tell your brother-in-law about this, I will kill you. All right, we are all on the same boat. How can I tell brother-in-law about this? Qin Yutong said while patting on her chest. Qinya took a breath, and the three women looked towards Qinya. Yihua, this bastard. Donghuang Baiji, Qin Yutong, Daji. The three women didn't expect that Qinya's first sentence would be to scold Yihua. In actuality, Qinya had already held it in for a long time, and now that she said it out, she felt much more comfortable in her heart. This bastard always likes to force me to do things that I am not willing to do, and when I refuse to do it, he still scolds me for being soft-hearted. He only knows how to lecture me all day long. Everything that he says is right. Even if he is wrong, he still has to say that he is right. If you refute him, he will be fierce towards you. There were a few times that I wanted to cry. Why did I meet such a man? And now, he even sent my child away. Bastard. I will beat him up every time I see him. Qinya said a lot of things, and she felt very happy, just like how a slave turned over and became a master. When Qinya raised her head, she was immediately startled. She saw Donghuang Baiji, Qin Yutong, and Daji looking at her dumbfoundedly, as if they had seen a ghost. Big sister, I finally know what it means to be a resentful woman. Qin Yutong mumbled. Big sister's resentment isn't just a little big, to actually be suppressed by brother-in-law like this. Qinya suddenly felt very embarrassed, as if the little secret in my heart was known by others. You still dare to speak? It's all your rotten idea. Qinya said petulantly. I wonder how brother-in-law will feel after hearing big sister's words. He should be able to comprehend it deeply. You dare to speak. Watch how I whip you to death. Qinya pinched onto Qin Yutong's ear. If Yihua were to find out about this, he would definitely scold me to death, to actually speak ill of him behind his back. Qin Yutong hurriedly surrendered. I was just joking, big sister, don't get agitated. Qinya snorted, then gave her little sister a death stare. If you dare to speak, you are done for. Big sister Baiji, it's your turn. Qin Yutong asked curiously. Donghuang Baiji took a deep breath. This Yihua. Everyone looked at Donghuang Baiji without blinking, very curious about what Donghuang Baiji was going to say next. I really fucking want to put him on the ground, then fiercely kick his butt and let him know how powerful I am. Every day, he acts as if he is the number one in the world, and nothing can go against him. If it weren't for me being his wife and cursing him behind his back every day. Do you know how ruthless Yihua is? Other people's spanking is considered flirting, but when he spanks, he is really spanking. It is clearly his own fault, but he still wants us, his wives, to take the blame. He is always talking about some twisted reasoning. If you don't hear it, you wouldn't understand. In his eyes, I am just someone to show off to others, to show off how beautiful his women are. Look at what we are wearing today. If we don't wear what we are wearing, look at him, he will definitely get angry. Also, the things that we are not willing to do, he would try his best to make us do it. He even said that he doesn't lie to others, and what he likes to do the most is to lie to his own wife. Every night, he would be like a bull, not stopping until he makes you collapse, not caring whether you are comfortable or not. A typical male chauvinist, overbearing and crazy. Chinya. That day, when we put a gunny sack on him and fiercely beat him up, just thinking about it makes me angry. Hearing Donghuang Baiji's resentment, Chinya nodded her head, more or less completed the things that she didn't say. Daji swallowed her saliva, thinking in her heart, should I tell master that the madams are preparing to deal with you? And they even said that they are going to put a gunny sack on you and beat you up. Why do the madams want to beat master? From what the madams said, master seems to be very bad. Alright Yutong, it's your turn, don't think about dodging. Qing Yutong had an indifferent look on her face as she said, I feel that brother-in-law is rather good, he is very concerned about me. I like brother-in-law, I like him very much. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:15. Omega. After saying that, Qing Yutong stopped talking. That's all. Donghuang Baiji asked in surprise. That's all. Qing Yutong cried out in surprise. Qingya slapped onto her little sister's head. I asked you to roast, not praise him. Ouch, big sister, it hurts and messed up my hairstyle. Qing Yutong said pitifully. Hurry up and speak. Alright, I'll roast, alright. Qing Yutong pouted and said lightly, brother-in-law, the bad thing about him is that he likes to mess with me from night to day. It's so annoying, the more I beg him, the more excited he gets. I might as well just treat him as a corpse and not speak, and as expected, it's a bit better, it's so painful. Hearing Qing Yutong's words, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's faces turned red. This flaw of his is simply a role model of an incapable ruler. All of his flaws are gathered on him. Daji's face turned red. So master is so amazing, to be able to mess with me from night to day. I really envy the madams, they should be very happy. But just now, the madams seem to be very hateful. Madams, Daji wants to ask if it's okay? Go ahead. Qingya said faintly. Since master is so bad, why do the madams still like master? Daji asked curiously. The three women looked at each other, then said in unison, because he's coquettish. After finished speaking, the three women laughed. Yi Hua belonged to the coquettish type. On the surface, he looks like a decent person, but when he's coquettish, it's simply unbearable. Rachel. Yi Hua, who was sitting on the ground and pondering, sneezed, then muttered. These three women are definitely speaking bad things about me. I'll just let you all have a taste of it. Daji didn't understand. What does coquettish have to do with liking? Miss, we have arrived. The coachman shouted respectfully from outside. Daji took the lead and walked out of the carriage, then helped the madams down the carriage one by one. This was what a maid should do. For women who were wearing veils stood at the entrance of the main palace, and there were more than 10 imperial guards standing at the entrance. Although it was night, the moonlight shone on the four women's bodies, revealing a hazy beauty. And with the veils, the imperial guards became a bit absent-minded. A eunuch ran out and said, Ladies, please come in, the emperor and the crown prince are waiting for you. Emperor? Donghuang Baiji thought that it was only the crown prince's banquet. He had already come all the way here. Was he going to turn back? If he really turned back, there would probably be a fight. Qingya said tenderly, let's go in and take a look. Qingya was. And Qing was. Right. Qing was Qing and Cheng. Right. In. The palace and the palace. There were Qing there. And there. There and there. There were two empty seats next to Chu Yuxuan. They should be Chu Ziming and Yuan Qing, but they probably wouldn't be able to make it. Sitting at the very top was the emperor. The Ping. On the lower left was the crown prince, Gu Haoran. The young man beside Gu Haoran was the third prince, Gu Cha, who was Gu Haoran's rival. He had always wanted to take down the crown prince, but he had never found an opportunity. Prison Warden Chu, this dance is not bad, right? The one leading the dance is our Azure Dragon Empire's beauty, Puyu. Emperor Gu Pai was an old man. When he smiled, he gave people a bad feeling. He was commonly known as the bad old man. It was normal for him to fawn on Chu Yuxuan. After all, Chu Yuxuan was the famous prison warden. Puyu was pretty. When she was dancing, she would look at Chu Yuxuan from time to time. Chu Yuxuan was the youngest prison warden of Ren King Prison. He had a bright future. He was said to be a heavenly law expert. Chu Yuxuan didn't know if it was true. If Chu Yuxuan took a liking to her, she would become a phoenix. Chu Yuxuan took a look at Puyu, and the latter lowered her head shyly. Chu Yuxuan sneered in his heart. How can I, Chu Yuxuan, look at her? I, Chu Yuxuan, fell off a cliff when I was 3 and found a celestial cave. When I was 6, I obtained an ancient scroll. When I was 10, I reached a dosha realm. When I was 13, I slapped everyone who looked down on me. When I was 18, I became the prison warden. In the eyes of others, I am just a first-ranked dosher. But I am already at the peak of the king realm. I can split the earth. I can split the mountain. I can lick with my tongue. How can this kind of woman be worthy of me, Chu Yuxuan? What a joke. My woman is unparalleled in the world. She is one of a kind. She is so beautiful that she makes people feel suffocated. Unfortunately, I have never met one. It's okay. Chu Yuxuan took a sip of the thick jade wine and said. Hearing Chu Yuxuan's words, Puyu was a little disappointed. Is he looking down on me? Gu Pai laughed. Warden Chu, you are young and promising. Cheers to you. After saying that, Gu Pai picked up the wine cup and drank it. Chu Yuxuan didn't move. Gu Pai didn't mind. Under normal circumstances, the people of Ren King Prison weren't ordinary. Chu Yuxuan looked at the seats beside him. They should be faster than him. Why aren't they here yet? It's good that they didn't come. They are burdens anyway. After the dance, Gu Pai waved his hand. The dancers slowly walked down. Before Puyu left, he didn't forget to look at Chu Yuxuan. Why doesn't he like me? When Puyu left the hall, he happened to see Qinya and the others walking up the stairs. He was slightly surprised. The aura of these women was not bad. Although he couldn't see them clearly because of the veil, they shouldn't be bad. Wait, what are these 4 women doing here? Could it be that their purpose is the same as mine? Damn it! Why didn't I think of that? Wearing the veil would be even more attractive. I am really stupid. Puyu snorted coldly and left with arrogant steps. In the palace, Gu Haoran stood up and said, Father Emperor, Warden Chu, speaking of beauties, I have found a few recently. How about I let Warden Chu and Father Emperor have a look? Gu Cha, who was sitting at the side, said faintly, Is your Highness Crown Prince looking for beauties recently? It must have been hard on you. Gu Haoran's face sunk. He really wanted to beat this half-brother of his to death. Gu Pai said gravely, Crown Prince, how many times have I told you, why don't you do your job properly? Father Emperor, how about you scold me after taking a look? Gu Haoran could only place his hopes on Zhang Jing. He hoped that Zhang Jing's eyesight wouldn't be too bad. Otherwise, not only would he lose face today, he would also be taught a lesson by Father Emperor. Gu Pai waved his hand, indicating that he would let them in. Gu Haoran looked at Zhang Jing, who was not far away. The latter gave him a resolute look, telling Crown Prince to be at ease. For ladies, please come in. The eunuch shouted. The door slowly opened, and Qinya and the other 3's figures gradually appeared. Baidu search 881 Chinese website yen. No advertising words. Chapter 8:16. Just by looking at their figures, I can tell that they are out of the ordinary. They are too enchanting. This kind of women definitely can't be too bad. Looking at those beautiful eyes, they are as clear as a stream. It is even more certain that they are beauties. Although they are all wearing a veil, it is unable to hide that kind of charm. Chu Yuxuan was a bit surprised. These 4 women are so mysterious. That kind of high and mighty temperament is truly unique. Not bad, not bad. They are much stronger than that dancer just now. I can't even compare with them. Of course, it was Gu Haoren's first time seeing these 4 women as well. Even if he didn't see their faces, Gu Haoren was still quite surprised. This Zhang Jing can be considered to have done a good deed. To be able to find these kind of women, he really has good eyesight. Gu Cha was the same. With just a look, I can tell that these 4 women are not ordinary beauties. This kind of temperament is just like a fairy. Where did this crown prince find these 4 women from? Emperor Gu Pai was also a bit absent-minded. Although he is already old, towards women, he is still able to do it like a young man. This woman is not bad, but when he thought about how the crown prince actually hid this kind of woman, he was a bit angry. He actually didn't offer them to his father, but instead wanted the people of Ren King Prison to offer them to him. It is obvious that he is trying to rope in Ren King Prison. Seems like the crown prince already can't wait to get his own throne. The ministers were also incomparably shocked, seemingly intoxicated, not knowing what kind of situation it would be if they were to reveal their appearances. Qin Yutong took a look at the surroundings. Master, I didn't discover the owner of the system. Qin Yutong was a bit disappointed. I thought that there would be the owner of the system. However, these people are looking at me lecherously. They are truly looking for a beating, especially that emperor. I really want to poke his eyeballs out. Good. This is what a beauty is. Chu Yuxuan suddenly shouted out, and actually took the lead to applaud. Everyone naturally followed suit, and immediately, a warm applause sounded out. Puyu, who had not walked far away, heard the applause coming from the palace behind him, and he felt depressed in his heart. I tried so hard to dance, yet I didn't receive any applause before I left, but they did. The few women could feel that the tallest person here wasn't the emperor, but this man. This man is even a bit handsome, looks like a jade tree in the wind, seems very calm, and belongs to that kind of mature youth. Ladies, I am the warden of Benevolence Prison, Chu Yuxuan. It is my honor to be able to meet the 4 of you today. After saying that, Chu Yuxuan waited for the 4 beauties to show their admiration for him. The position of warden of the Benevolent King's Penitentiary. If such a position was released, many beauties would want to climb into his bed, just like that unpolished jade just now. As long as he said the word, he would kneel and lick his boots tonight. But there was no reaction at all, as if he had heard a joke. This made Chu Yuxuan feel very awkward. But thinking about how she was a beautiful woman, it was inevitable for her to be a little arrogant. Or perhaps she was just pretending. Qinya was slightly surprised. I met another person from the Ren King Prison. It seems like the official title is rather high. Also, what is a person from the Ren King Prison doing here? Ladies, can you take off your veils? Chu Yuxuan asked in a leisurely manner. He seemed like a handsome and elegant man. Qinya and the others continued to remain silent. Who do you all think you are? To actually dare to ask us to take off our veils? Is that even possible? This time, Chu Yuxuan's expression was a bit ugly. What kind of woman would dare to be so arrogant in front of him? She was simply asking for a yard after being given an inch. Seeing Chu Yuxuan's expression darken, Gu Haoren hurriedly said, Ladies, please do us a favor. This is the famous Chu Yuxuan. Warden Chu. Gu Pai didn't say anything. He wanted to use women to curry favor with Chu Yuxuan, but now he had offended him. Crown Prince, I want to see how you will redeem yourself. Before Gu Haoren could continue to persuade him, Gu Cha said with a smile, Your Royal Highness, the beauty you invited doesn't seem to give our Warden Chu any face. Don't tell me he did it on purpose. Gu Haoren almost couldn't help but slap him. This despicable and shameless villain actually dared to twist his words. Sure enough, when Chu Yuxuan heard this, he saw Gu Haoren. You called him over? Did you call him over just to disgust me? Gu Haoren was greatly alarmed, and he wanted nothing more than to rush over and tear him to shreds. However, among the 4 women, Qin Yutong suddenly raised her hand and touched towards her veil. Everyone's mood was lifted. A beautiful woman taking off her veil. This kind of thing is very pleasurable. It is just like watching a beautiful woman taking off her clothes. All of the men looked at Qin Yutong without taking their eyes off of her. Meanwhile, Qin Yutong stretched out her hand and scratched her sideburns. Just now, there was a slight itch, but soon after, she put down her hand. Everyone had the urge to beat someone up. Don't think that just because you all are beautiful women, we won't beat you all up. Even if you all are beautiful women, you all should know when to stop. Lady, enough is enough. Chu Yuxuan said gravely. I am a little angry now. Qing Yutong stretched out her hand once again. Everyone had already been tricked once, so they were very angry. Are you trying to play with us again? However, this time, Qing Yutong wasn't joking around, and she really took off her veil. Everyone looked at the veil that was slowly falling off, and they were already unable to move their eyes away. What kind of face is that? This is simply not a face that an ordinary person should have. It is too perfect. I am already unable to think of any adjectives to describe it. Every single part of that face seemed to have been meticulously sculpted, and there wasn't the slightest bit of deviation. Every single part complemented each other, achieving a kind of astonishing beauty. Beautiful, truly beautiful. Everyone was dumbstruck, including Chu Yuxuan. There is actually such a beauty in this world. Seems like this is going to be my woman. As expected, fortuitous encounters keep on happening, and they are all arranged beforehand. Gu Haoran was a little stupefied. This Zhang Jing. If I had known that she was this beautiful, I wouldn't have left her at this time. I would have kept her for myself. Idiot. Too beautiful, and this is only one. What about the other three? I can't take it anymore. Is she beautiful? Qing Yutong asked lightly. Everyone seemed to have been bewitched, and they unconsciously nodded their heads, just like puppets. This was a look of being conquered by beauty. Who asked them to have never seen a beauty before? It has already been a very long time since Qing Yutong enjoyed this kind of gaze. I remember that when I was a celebrity in the past, these people were just like my little fans. Unfortunately, after I met brother-in-law, I didn't have the chance to enjoy this kind of gaze anymore. These stinky men, when they see a beauty, they all have this kind of expression, truly disgusting. Take a seat. Emperor Gu Pai shouted out loudly. This kind of woman. I am willing to even offer up the country. Qingya and the others took a seat, and a palace maid came over to serve them, but was stopped by Daji. The madams can serve them ourselves. There is no need for you all to do it. Although they only saw one, it was already enough to satisfy everyone's mood. As for the remaining three, let's take it slow, just like drinking wine, only then will it be interesting. Young lady, where did you come from? Chu Yuxuan asked curiously. Wushu Empire. Qing Yutong said with a slight smile, and this smile immediately caused a lot of people to become absent-minded. Chapter 8:17. This kind of smile was like a ray of warm sunlight shining in their hearts. It was very warm. But what the hell was Wushu Empire? Why had they never heard of it before? Chu Yuxuan rarely went to places like Northern Liang, so he didn't know at all. He smiled. Although I am not very knowledgeable, this is the first time I have heard of Wushu Empire. That's right, this is also the first time we have heard of it. Gu Haoran hurriedly replied. He mustn't let prison warden Chu feel awkward. Qing Yutong said indifferently. Sigh, it is normal that you guys don't know about such a good place. Her meaning was very obvious. You country bumpkins don't even know about Wushu Empire. You are too weak. Lady, why don't you tell us about it and let us broaden our horizons? Chu Yuxuan smiled. He didn't take it to heart. How could a woman have seen such a big scene? Such an empire. It is more than 10 times bigger than this place. Just the city wall alone is hundreds of feet tall. The emperor there is handsome and imposing. You guys won't understand even if I tell you. Then where is this Wushu Empire? We can go and take a look. Gucha asked curiously. It is in the north of Northern Liang. I heard that all of Northern Liang's forces moved out this time, but they didn't gain any advantage, and they were all defeated by Wushu Empire. It was so miserable. Qing Yutong started bragging again. Such news caused everyone's expression to change slightly. How is this possible? Is this still just an empire? That is definitely because Tianliang sect didn't participate in the war. Gu Pai smiled. He wouldn't believe it. Tianliang sect lost 200,000 disciples at the entrance of Shueisha city. It is so terrifying. Qing Yutong narrated with fear. This is quite interesting. Although I don't know if it is true or false, I will definitely send people to investigate. Madam, Daji has tried it. Please don't worry and drink. Daji said softly. Although her voice was very soft, she was still heard. Madam, tried it? Was it poison testing? These 3 women were already married to other people? These are maids? Hearing such a way of addressing them, Chu Yuxuan's heart turned cold. Lady is already married? That's right. She married a man from Wushu Empire. The men there are very outstanding. Chu Yuxuan was not convinced. One day I will definitely go to Wushu Empire to take a look. However, it didn't matter even if she married someone. He could just grab such a woman and use her directly. He didn't care about anything else. You've basically delivered yourself to my doorstep. To be humiliated by me, Chu Yuxuan, is a glorious thing. If word of this gets out, you'll gain a lot of face. Other women might even get jealous. Sai, who asked him to be so outstanding. At this time, Gu Haoran said, Warden Chu, this girl is beautiful, right? Gu Haoran, well done. I thank you. Chu Yuxuan cupped his hands towards Gu Haoran as if he had already succeeded. This made Gu Cha, who was at the side, very unhappy. Gu Pai, who was on the stage, felt the same. You actually use such a woman as a bribe. Is there something wrong with your head? What could Gu Haoran do? He had thought that what Zhang Jing said was only average. He did not expect it to be like this. At this time, Chu Yuxuan only wanted the banquet to end quickly, so that he could bring the 4 women and have a good time tonight. He was indeed a youth with fortuitous encounters, able to encounter all sorts of wonderful things. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were about to die from boredom. It would be better for them to stay at home and accompany Yihua and listen to Yihua brag. At the very least, it would be better than sitting here and daydreaming. Compared to these hypocrites, Yihua was really 10,000 times better. At the very least, he would not be a hypocrite. Suddenly, hurried footsteps rang out from the entrance of the palace, and a man who wore a white gown could be seen directly pushing open the palace door. Just as Gu Pai was about to get angry, he saw the pattern on the man's chest and knew that the man was from 3 Absolute Palace. So it is 3 Absolute Palace's esteemed guest. I apologize for not going out to welcome you. Quickly take a seat. Quickly take a seat. As the emperor, Gu Pai naturally had to personally take care of Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan looked towards the man and said with a light smile, Hua Yang, what are you doing here? Chu Yuxuan, Warden Chu. It has been a few years since I last saw you, and you have grown taller. Hua Yang laughed in disdain. Hua Yang, seems like I didn't beat you up enough back then. When Qingye, who was originally drowsy, heard that 3 Absolute Palaces people had come, she immediately became interested. For 2 of Aloe River's major powers to gather in Azure Dragon Empire, there is definitely a problem. Hua Yang originally wanted to retort back, but when he saw Qing Yutong, he immediately became absent-minded. Such a beautiful woman. In front of such a beautiful woman, I definitely cannot lose face. Perhaps, this beautiful woman will take the initiative to take advantage of me. Just some insignificant tricks. Do you think that I can't beat you? Hua Yang immediately pulled out his sword and pointed it at Chu Yuxuan. The atmosphere in the palace was very tense. Originally, weapons were not allowed to be brought into the palace, but these 2 were both powerful people, so they could only go along with their wishes. Chu Yuxuan also did not fall behind. He immediately pulled out his own sword and pointed it at Hua Yang. Both of you sit. It is not good to fight and kill, Qingye said lightly. Following Qingye's words, the 2 young men slightly became absent-minded. This kind of voice is very beautiful. It is filled with a different kind of feeling, as if those who do not listen to her words are unpardonable people. Humph. Hua Yang put away the long sword in his hand and sat at the side. Humph. Chu Yuxuan was the same. Everyone did not expect that a woman would actually make the geniuses of 2 powers stop fighting. It seems like the power of a beautiful woman is really great. Why did you come here this time, can you tell me? Qing Yutong asked. She did not believe that they would not answer. Hua Yang cupped his hands and said, Young lady, this is the secret report of 3 Absolute Palace. I hope that young lady does not regard me as an outsider. Hee Hua Yang, your 3 Absolute Palace really knows how to secretly report. Chu Yuxuan could not help but ridicule. Chu Yuxuan, stop slandering us. This information was stolen from us by your Ren King prison. And now you are even accusing us. Truly despicable. Hua Yang angrily rebuked. He had never seen such a despicable person. Why don't you guys fight? Qingye indifferently said. Let's fight then. Who is afraid of who? Chu Yuxuan was not afraid at all. Come on. Hua Yang was the same. Gu Pai hurriedly persuaded. Two heroes calmed down. Who knew that Chu Yuxuan and Hua Yang pointed at Gu Pai at the same time? Old man, you have no right to speak here. The two of them fiercely looked at each other, then walked out of the palace and arrived at a spacious area below. It was very suitable for fighting. The people in the palace also walked out one after another. This kind of battle between geniuses was very interesting. Qingye and the others also walked out. They definitely came to the Azure Dragon Empire for something, Qingye said indifferently. And furthermore, this matter might be happening in the Azure Dragon Empire. Donghuang Baiji added. Qing Yutong smiled. They are indeed a bit more powerful. It would be good for me to go and make a bet. Qingye raised her hand, and Qing Yutong immediately covered her head, appearing very cute. Madam, there seems to be something sealed beneath the Azure Dragon Empire. Daji could be heard suddenly saying. Chapter 8:18. Hearing what Daji said, the three women were obviously a bit shocked. After all, from Daji's tone, the thing that was sealed was not simple. Donghuang Baiji asked softly, Daji, do you know what it is? Madam, Daji only knows that it is a different race. Just now, I felt a trace of aura, but it disappeared very quickly. It should be a sign that the seal is about to be broken. Daji was also a different race, so she could feel the other party's aura. Although it was just for a moment, she could still feel it. However, humans could not feel it. Different race? Qing Yutong asked. Daji, how strong is the thing that was sealed? Qingye asked. Madam, just a trace of aura appeared. Daji is unable to make a correct judgment. Do you want me to call Master over to deal with this? No need. Qingye said decisively. It was rare that Yihua was not by my side. If I can't even deal with this small matter, I will be throwing Yihua's face. Daji did not insist anymore because she saw the determination in the eyes of the three madams. Master is so lucky to have three wives like this. However, Daji will also try to serve Master well. In front of the palace, Chu Yuxuan and Hua Yang stood facing each other. Chu Yuxuan held the white yang saber while Hua Yang held the falling flower sword. Although these two weapons could not be considered the best, they were still relatively rare weapons. From the color of the weapons, it seemed that they had been tempered several times. Hua Yang is not like back then, crippled by me. Chu Yuxuan snorted. A small Dodosher dares to be arrogant? I am a peak Dodosher. Killing you in an instant is just a matter of time. A Dodosher's aura immediately erupted from Hua Yang's body and engulfed the entire palace. This caused Gu Pai and the other royalty to be stunned. Such a young Dodosher is indeed terrifying. Hehe, you still want to compete in Do Qi? Chu Yuxuan shouted angrily. A Do Qi that was not any weaker than Hua Yang spread out and fought against Hua Yang's Do Qi. Chu Yuxuan was originally hiding his strength, so he gradually increased his Do Qi. Hua Yang, on the other hand, wasn't as lucky as Chu Yuxuan. He had worked his way up. Just like a player with money and a normal player, the other player has a lot of things to pay for, but you have nothing in your hands. How are you going to play? Meanwhile, Yihua was the existence of a bug, the kind that could not be fixed. What? Hold on. Chu Yuxuan mocked. He could see that his battle chi was completely suppressing Hua Yang. Everyone in the viewing gallery felt that prison leader Chu was still the strongest. He was indeed worthy of being the youngest prison leader. With this Do Qi, he should at least be a rank 4 Dodosher. Crown Prince, it seems like the benevolent king prison is slightly better, Zhang Jing said softly beside Gu Haoran. Yeah, it's not a bad choice to place our hopes on the benevolent king prison. Gu Haoran chuckled. The 3 Absolute Hall was indeed powerful, but compared to the benevolent king prison, it was still slightly inferior. Although it was not clear, it was just slightly inferior. Hua Yang was shocked. Wasn't Chu Yuxuan a second-grade dosher? Why was it rank for now? This damned intelligence team had tricked him. Hua Yang shouted angrily, and his battle energy increased by a lot. He held the long sword in front of him, and his fingers slid across the blade. Ice silkworm. The blade of the sword was immediately covered by a layer of ice. However, the ice was not hard, and it seemed to be wiggling. It looked very strange and a bit horrifying. Thunder! Hua Yang shouted angrily again. The long sword in his hand slashed out a ray of lightning. However, on the lightning, there was actually an ice silkworm. The lightning directly attacked towards Chu Yuxuan. The battle chi was split apart by the strange lightning. Chu Yuxuan said mockingly, Hua Yang, after competing in battle chi, you are now competing in techniques. Why are you still the same as before? Chu Yuxuan's figure could be seen instantly disappearing from where he was. His speed was so fast that even Hua Yang couldn't see him clearly, and that lightning directly slashed towards the building behind him. In an instant, the building collapsed. Seeing this, Gu Pai's heart ached. My palace! Men quickly go and repair it. Yes. Qingye laughed. This emperor is really stingy. Do you think that everyone is like Yi Hua? He is a tycoon. Donghuang Baiji laughed helplessly. Only Yi Hua wouldn't feel heartache for these worldly possessions. This Chu Yuxuan is quite something. Qing Yutong was talking about the situation of the battle. Donghuang Baiji said faintly, no matter how much he has, he is still just a child playing house. Let's just wait for the thing inside the seal. I am really curious about what that thing is. I heard brother-in-law say that he has 2 subordinates here. I wonder if it is one of them. Qing Yutong mumbled. That is possible. Who knows? We might be able to help Yi Hua find his long-lost subordinates. Donghuang Baiji covered her mouth and laughed lightly. Hearing what Donghuang Baiji said, the few women laughed lightly. This caused the men at the side to be dumbfounded. This laughter sure is pleasant to listen to. At the scene, Hua Yang looked around vigilantly. However, Chu Yuxuan's figure was nowhere to be seen. Damn it. This fellow took advantage of the darkness to move at high speed. I am completely unable to determine his position. Hua Yang could be seen raising the ice sword in his hand, then shouted out, 3 ultimate ice seal. The long sword in Hua Yang's hand immediately emitted out a white mist. Whoosh. Everything that came into contact with the mist were all frozen. Furthermore, a human figure could be seen to be frozen, and the human figure was even in a running position. That human figure was precisely Chu Yuxuan, and there was still fear on his face. This scene caused everyone to be stupefied. This Hua Yang was clearly at a disadvantage. How did he suddenly counterattack? Hua Yang let out a sigh of relief, then looked towards Chu Yuxuan, who was not far away from him. With a smile on the corner of his mouth, he said, Run, why aren't you running anymore? Chu Yuxuan, who was frozen, could be seen revealing a smile. PFFF. Chu Yuxuan, who was frozen, actually disappeared. This caused Hua Yang to be startled, and a feeling of threat assaulted him. The ice sword in Hua Yang's right hand immediately drew out a beautiful arc clang. Chu Yuxuan's blade fiercely hacked onto Hua Yang's sword, causing the ground beneath Hua Yang's feet to crack, and even the ice sword started to crack. Your reaction isn't bad, but you should know that I was going easy on you. Chu Yuxuan laughed frivolously. I was indeed going easy on you just now. No need. Hua Yang shouted out coldly. The long sword in his hand fiercely swung out, and another beautiful sword chi slid across the simple and unadorned palace. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! Summon the imperial physician. The emperor has fainted. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji couldn't stop laughing, and they actually fainted from anger. A rank 2 great doshers 2 sword chi had destroyed almost a quarter of the palace. How could they not feel heartache? Chu Yuxuan lightly leapt backwards. Hua Yang, you are no longer my opponent right now. After all, the distance between us has increased. Stop acting cool here. Hua Yang held onto his sword with both of his hands, and fiercely stabbed it into the ground. Chapter 819. Thousand Elephant Seal. Along with Hua Yang's angry shout, the ground began to tremble slightly, and even the people who were standing on the viewing platform could feel it. Even the golden tiles on the palace could be seen falling down, making clanging sounds. This is all money. The stingy emperor is going to feel heartache. Gotcha. The ground even cracked open. Looking at this scene, Gu Haoran's mouth twitched slightly. Is this Sanjahal planning to destroy the palace? He has really gone crazy. If father wakes up, he will definitely be angered to death. The palace is his blood. And just now, this Huayang already fainted from anger. If he were to do a few more times, he will definitely pass out from anger. Crown Prince, we shouldn't stay here for long. Zhang Jing, who was standing at the side, said in a low voice. If these two big Do masters were to fight, the palace would be very dangerous. They wouldn't care about where this place is. Gu Haoran felt that what Zhang Jing said was true, and left with Zhang Jing. As for Gu Cha, he also felt that it is too dangerous to stay here, so he quickly left. Along with the departure of the two princes, everyone else also left one after another. They didn't want to die with the two princes. As for Qinya and the others, they were still standing at the same spot, looking at the situation below. No matter how beautiful the beauties were, these people still didn't come over. After all, life is more precious. Even Gu Haoran didn't care about these four women. It could be seen that in his heart, life is more important than anything else. Qin Yutong smiled and said, these people are really afraid of death, such a small movement, and they are already scared away. Not afraid? Could it be that they want to stay behind and die? This person's sword can be considered as helping, truly an idiot. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. It was very obvious that the seal was shaking. Madam, the seal is already very loose. Do you want Daji to make a move? Daji, who was at the side, asked respectfully, seemingly wanting to seal the seal again. Qinya shook her head. She suspected that Daji was her husband's long-lost subordinate, thus she still wanted to see the situation. Forget it. Let's release them and have a look. Qinya said faintly. Qin Yutong gave a thumbs up. Big sister is awesome. Release them and have a look. Qinya's tone was just like releasing a monkey, extremely relaxed. If these four big sisters were to gather together, who wouldn't be able to defeat them? Gotcha. Cracks began to appear on the ground around Daji's feet. Across the entire palace, cracks of varying degrees appeared on the ground, and they were spreading in all directions. Huayang, although we don't put these empires in our eyes, aren't you too arrogant to tear down other people's houses? It's not good for your three absolute palaces' reputation. Chu Yuxuan's strength was still not enough, so he didn't feel the movement under his feet. Huayang's hands were still stuck in the ground, and his head was slightly lowered. Bang! Chu Yuxuan narrowed his eyes and shouted at Huayang. Are you crazy? Do you really want to be destroyed by someone else's palace? A very large crack could be seen appearing on the ground, and many buildings were beginning to collapse. Qinya and the others were floating in the air, and the palace behind them had already collapsed. The emperor will definitely be angered to death. Qin Yutong muttered as she looked down at the entire imperial palace. She discovered that the middle part of the imperial palace had already collapsed, and the remaining parts that didn't collapse were the outer parts of the imperial palace. Fortunately, those people ran away quickly, otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to escape. However, many palace maids and imperial bodyguards were killed by the falling stones. If the few women were to fly a bit higher, they would be able to see. The entire Azure Dragon Empire was a huge seal, and the imperial palace was the seal. From this point, it could be seen that this seal had existed for a very long time. After all, even if Azure Dragon Empire wasn't built in recent years, it would still have a history of several thousand years. From this point, it could be seen that this seal had existed for at least several thousand years. At this moment, Huayang slightly raised his head and looked towards Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan's expression tensed up, and he suddenly leaped backwards. This Huayang only had his eyeballs left. Clear Heart Spell. Chu Yuxuan formed a hand seal with one hand and cast a spell onto Huayang's body. PFFF. When the Clear Heart spell landed on Huayang's body, it was as if it was a fart. There was no reaction at all. This caused Chu Yuxuan to feel even more heavy, and he felt that the current Huayang was no longer the same Huayang. Could it be that he used some kind of forbidden technique? It shouldn't be. This Huayang is indeed a bit weak, but he wouldn't do something like that. Then there is only one possibility. He has been possessed. Meanwhile, Chu Yuxuan's attention was attracted by the ice sword in Hua Yang's hand. A tentacle-like black fog could be seen emerging from the ground and flowing towards Hua Yang along the body of the ice sword. If one didn't observe carefully, it would be very hard to notice such a situation. Demon-rending cry. Chu Yuxuan didn't dare to be careless. He held the ice sword with both of his hands above his head, and a burst of irritable qi condensed on the edge of the ice sword. The ice sword let out a light cry, and a woman suddenly opened her bloody mouth. And this bloody mouth was the edge of the ice sword. Chu Yuxuan could be seen slashing towards Hua Yang. An astral wind wantonly flew out. Clang! When the two weapons collided, a huge shockwave was produced, and the entire palace was already on the verge of collapse. The emperor is definitely going to be angered to death. Jijiji. Hua Yang could be heard letting out a strange laugh. Hua Yang raised the ice sword with his right hand, and his entire right hand gave people a feeling of softness, as if he didn't use any strength at all. Looking at the strange Hua Yang, Chu Yuxuan's pupils gradually shrunk, and his left hand pressed onto the back of the ice sword. Boundless lightning. A bolt of lightning struck onto Hua Yang's body, and Qing Yutong could even see Hua Yang's bones. Jijiji. Hua Yang didn't have any reaction at all, and just stared fixedly at Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan hurriedly leaped backwards and pulled apart the distance between them. This Hua Yang has changed. Hua Yang, who was laughing, suddenly disappeared, and this caused Chu Yuxuan to turn pale with fright. At this moment, Chu Yuxuan couldn't care so much anymore. He fully unleashed the strength of a peak stage battle king, and his powerful battle chi covered the entire palace, as expected of a peak stage battle king. Furthermore, he is such a young peak stage battle king. He will definitely be a rare talent in the future. However, this talent is currently facing a threat to his life. Chu Yuxuan was able to sense that Hua Yang was right beside him, but he was just unable to sense Hua Yang's aura. This kind of situation was just like before. Chu Yuxuan was toying with Hua Yang, and now, it became Hua Yang toying with Chu Yuxuan. Come out for me! Chu Yuxuan shouted out angrily, and a frightening battle chi burst out from his body, seemingly wanting to break through from Battle King to Battle Emperor. Undying technique, Blood Tide. Chu Yuxuan finally used his killing move, which was the broken ancient scroll that he obtained when he was 6 years old, and the scroll was called Undying Technique. After mastering the scroll, one would be invincible, and being invulnerable was just a simple matter. And now, just by practicing a little bit of the scroll, it was already incomparably powerful. A blood tide could be seen gushing out from behind Chu Yuxuan, and the blood tide pounced onto the ground. Chu Yuxuan's surroundings were filled with blood tide, and this blood tide was a bit strange. It seemed to be bubbling, as if it was boiling. Suddenly, within the blood tide, a blood hand actually formed and grabbed towards the air. The blood hand even directly grabbed towards the air, and the blood tide seemed as if it was going to pierce through the heaven and earth. This tattered ancient scroll was indeed awesome. End of this chapter. Chapter 820. Suddenly, that blood hand seemed to have grabbed onto something, and Hua Yang's figure instantly appeared. Hua Yang's left leg was firmly grabbed onto by that blood hand. Chu Yuxuan sneered, and both of his hands began to change. The blood tide instantly turned into even more blood hands and charged towards Hua Yang. Hua Yang was immediately subdued by the blood hands. His forelimbs were pulled by the blood hands, and his neck was also shackled by the blood hands. Hua Yang, even if you are possessed by something, you are still no match for me, Chu Yuxuan. The current Chu Yuxuan was filled with heroism. The blood tide actually rose into the air and transformed into a blood sword that was emitting a terrifying Do Qi. Such a technique had long surpassed the realm of Do Wang, and had reached the realm of Do Huang. The four women in the air were also discussing in low voices. Qing Yutong expressed that this Chu Yuxuan was indeed quite capable. If he is given the space to develop, he will indeed become a very powerful person in the future. Such a technique is also quite powerful. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly and gave a very high evaluation, especially towards the undying technique. Qingya silently nodded her head. This technique is indeed powerful. To have such an achievement at such a young age, It is indeed not easy. Actually, that person is also not bad, he is just a bit unlucky. Qing Yutong laughed lightly. That Huayang was also a well-known figure in the younger generation, but just like a lot of side characters, he was unable to shake the main character's luck. Even if he was possessed by something, he was still instantly killed by the main character. A vivid portrayal of a tragedy. The huge blood sword that was formed from the blood tide had already condensed, and the tip of the sword was pointed towards the middle of Huayang's eyebrows. Chu Yuxuan shouted coldly, "Huayang, I originally didn't want to kill you. After all, with you around, I can still show off my strength. But who asked you to go crazy? If that's the case, don't blame me." Along with Chu Yuxuan's finger moving, the huge blood sword attacked towards Huayang. The four women at the side didn't have the intention to make a move, because sometimes side characters would also bully the main character. Otherwise, how could the main character become strong? The blood sword could be seen suddenly stopping at the middle of Huayang's eyebrows. And Huayang's frightened expression suddenly changed. He was actually laughing. This was a type of mockery. Just now, Chu Yuxuan was also pretending. And now, Huayang was also pretending. You. Seeing Huayang's disdainful smile, Chu Yuxuan was very shocked. Jijiji. As Huayang let out a creepy laugh, the bloody hands that were wrapped around his body instantly broke apart and turned into a rain of blood. He actually threw out the ice sword in his hand, the tip of the sword whistling through the air towards Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan's eyes narrowed. He did not dare to be careless. Blood walls condensed in front of him. Bang! The ice sword directly pierced through the first blood wall. And its momentum didn't decrease at all. It directly pierced through the second blood wall. Bang bang bang. With Huayang's light flick, Chu Yuxuan's 10 blood walls collapsed one by one. Chu Yuxuan couldn't believe what he was seeing. This was the first time he had used this trump card against an enemy, but he had been completely crushed. Chu Yuxuan turned pale with fright and hurriedly dodged. The ice sword slid across Chu Yuxuan's left shoulder. His flesh was instantly cut open, revealing his white bones. The blood tide also dissipated at this moment. Chu Yuxuan immediately took out a pill and swallowed it. His eyes were still filled with shock. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared in front of him. Chu Yuxuan didn't even need to think to know who it was. Bang! Chu Yuxuan's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. He punched himself in the stomach. A wave of dou qi instantly spread out. Chu Yuxuan's body flew out like a cannonball, knocking down the palace that was on the verge of collapse. As for Chu Yuxuan himself, he fell in the middle of the ruins. He no longer had the imposing aura he had before. He was directly knocked down by a single punch. Huayang unhurriedly floated towards Chu Yuxuan. He even turned his head and looked at the four women in the sky, as if saying, "Wait for me to take care of this one. Then I'll take care of you all." Step by step, Huayang walked towards Chu Yuxuan, who was on the verge of death. The latter opened his weak eyes and looked at Huayang. He never thought that he would be beaten like a dog by Huayang. How infuriating. Standing beside Chu Yuxuan, Huayang pointed the ice sword in his hand at Chu Yuxuan. Chu Yuxuan spat out a mouthful of blood and said with a smile, "Huayang, you're lucky today. You borrowed the strength of others to defeat me. But next time, it's definitely impossible. Bye-bye." After finished speaking, the hand that Chu Yuxuan hid behind his back crushed a piece of jade. As a smart person, how could he not have a method to escape? Huayang fiercely stabbed the ice sword in his hand towards Chu Yuxuan. However, Chu Yuxuan disappeared first, and the ice sword directly stabbed into the ruins. The huge tremor caused the entire palace to completely collapse. Roar! Huayang roared out with unwillingness. Meanwhile, Chu Yuxuan, who disappeared, appeared in the south of Qingluo continent. He was lying beside a lake. The moonlight shone onto the surface of the lake, presenting a beautiful scene. La 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 la, a child was running while holding onto a handmade windmill, completely ignoring Chu Yuxuan. Afterward, Huayang stepped on the wound on Chu Yuxuan's left arm. Chu Yuxuan, who had fainted, immediately woke up. The child fell onto the ground, being frightened by the man who was covered in blood in front of him. There was no need to think too much. The child immediately cried out loudly and ran towards the thatched cottage at the side while shouting, Daddy, Mommy, Uncle Skeleton, there's a ghost here. The three people in the thatched cottage seemed to have heard the child's cry as well and ran out of the thatched cottage. That's right, this was Long Outyen's family of three, and Death Assassin. Along with Death Mage's teleportation, Death Assassin also brought Long Outyen's family over and directly appeared in this unfamiliar world. During the first month, everyone was not used to it, even Death Assassin was not used to it. Furthermore, Master was also not able to be contacted. It should be because the distance was too far, unless Master took the initiative to contact me. However, Death Mage seemed to have forgotten about this little brother of his. Very quickly, Long Outyen adapted to it. To begin with, he was already living deep in the mountains, and now that the environment was even better, he was still the same. After sparring with Death Assassin every day, Long Outyen's improvement was quite big. After all, Long Outyen was not someone to be trifled with. His left hand could treat people and his right hand could kill people. Young, what happened to you? Meng Meng hugged onto her son tightly and asked worriedly. Long Outyen pointed towards the lake and shouted, Mommy, there's a ghost over there. Death Assassin and Long Outyen took a look at each other, then walked towards the lake, and discovered Chu Yuxuan, who fainted from pain. Master, should we save him? Long Outyen asked curiously. In actuality, he wanted to kill Chu Yuxuan in his heart. After all, Chu Yuxuan's family would definitely be chased after by Long Outyen's family. Death Assassin did not say anything and turned around to leave. Long Outyen knew that Death Assassin was letting him make the decision. Turning his head around and taking a look at his wife and son, Long Outyen let out a light sigh. No matter what, I can't kill someone in front of my wife and son, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 8:21. Save me, save me. It must be said that Chu Yuxuan's luck is really good, to be able to teleport right in front of Long Outyen. This Long Outyen's medical skills are quite good. As expected of a man who can fall down a cliff and meet an immortal mansion, his luck is really good. At the scene, the four women looked towards Huayang, who was roaring in anger, a bit confused. This Huayang seems to really want to get rid of Chu Yuxuan. Madams, although this person is being controlled, what he does is subconscious. Daji seemed to understand. Thus she voiced out her confusion. No wonder Huayang wanted to play around with Chu Yuxuan. It was because Chu Yuxuan also played around with him at the start. This can be counted as slapping Chu Yuxuan's face, taking revenge. Huayang, who was below, slightly raised his head and stared at the four women in the sky, then immediately disappeared and reappeared not far away from the four women. Gigi. When Qing Yutong heard this strange laughter, she laughed. Should I look for Death Mage to translate for me? Qingye and Donghuang Baiji laughed but did not say anything. If it was before, they would feel that this was a strange laughter, but now, this was definitely not a laughter. This was a language, at least, this was how Death Mage spoke. Madam, let Daji fight, don't dirty the hands of the madams. Daji agreed. As a maid, she naturally had to help her master. Qingye nodded her head and did not reject Daji's kind intentions. Big sister, don't worry, Daji is very strong, Qing Yutong said softly. How did you know? I guessed. Hehe, do you think that your big sister is an idiot? Qingye rolled her eyes at her little sister. Since young, her little sister has always liked to lie to me. Qing Yutong immediately acted coquettishly, as she held on to her big sister's arm and shook it. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji felt helpless. Originally, they wanted to marry Qing Yutong to Yihua. That way, she would become more mature, but who knew that she would not change at all? Looking at Daji walking forward, Qingye and the others retreated quite a bit, in order to not disturb the battle between the two. Right now, inside one residence, Yihua and Wani were sitting beside the pond fishing, and there was a small bottle of wine placed at the side. Yihua didn't bother about his wives. After all, just letting them take a breather, and something happened to them. This is truly a bit interesting. The thing that is sealed beneath the Azure Dragon Empire is indeed a bit interesting. Brother ? Something might have happened in the Imperial Palace. Should we go and take a look? Wani couldn't help but ask worriedly. Yi Huaman took a sip of the wine and said, Don't worry, no one will bully them. It's good enough that they don't bully others. What if his acting was a little exaggerated? How could sister question number be bullied? I'm really curious about what's happening in the palace. There must be a fight going on. I can feel a huge amount of battle chi. However, Yihua was currently thinking about that sealed thing. Should I let it go out and cause trouble, or should I just kill it? This was a little troublesome. A gust of cold wind blew through the palace. Daji's delicate body stood in the air. Her curvaceous figure was indeed very tempting. Coupled with her veil, she was full of mystery. However, facing such a woman, Huayang didn't feel anything at all. He only wanted to crush this woman's neck. Huayang's body disappeared in an instant. Just like before, it was impossible to catch him. However, that was only against Chu Yuxuan. This orange card Daji was no joke. He could really die. Daji, who was under the veil, was as cold as ice. In this world, only a man like my master is worthy to see my smile. The rest of the men are all salted fish. Daji suddenly stretched out her arm. Her 5 slender fingers formed into claws, and without any hesitation, she clawed towards the air. The air even gave off a sonic boom. Just when Huayang, who was moving at high speed, wanted to dodge, a suction force pulled him towards himself. Rather than saying that he was grabbed, it would be better to say that he stretched out his neck and got sucked into that hand. Qinya laughed. Daji is indeed very formidable. And very formidable. Donghuang Baiji also praised. Qin Yutong thought in her heart. That person has an orange card. How could he not be formidable? That person nurtured this orange card for more than 10 years, and in the end he was taken advantage of by brother-in-law. If such a thing happens to me, I can just go and kill myself. Daji turned her head around and looked towards Huayang, and her pair of beautiful eyes suddenly changed. Her eyes turned into a fox's eyes, and this made Huayang forget to struggle. A strand of black fog left Huayang's body and quickly drilled into the crack. Daji ignored the black fog, and Huayang, who was in her hand, returned back to normal. Looking at how his neck was being grabbed by a beautiful woman, Huayang didn't feel good at all. What happened just now? Why did I forget everything? Beautiful woman, Before Huayang could finish speaking, Daji swung her right hand, and Huayang was like an object that fell from the sky, smashing into the ruins and fainting. This kind of trash, I shouldn't disturb him. Daji looked at the cracked ground. Just now, I felt that the seal had disappeared. Is it coming out? Qinya, Donghuang Baiji, and Qin Yutong were very excited. Just what is being sealed? And it is very strong. It can't really be Yihua's subordinate, right? If I were to help Yihua find his long-lost subordinate, it can be counted as a meritorious deed. At that time, during the commendation ceremony, I will also be able to publicly praise my wife. Every time I hold a commendation ceremony, I would never praise my wife. I have never seen such a stingy man. Would it kill me to praise my wife? I cook and wash clothes for you every single day. It's coming. Daji lightly spat out. Suddenly, a large amount of black tentacles could be seen gushing out from the crack. These tentacles didn't seem to be real material, and they seemed to be formed from black mist. Black mist gushed out from the entire imperial palace. When some of the imperial guards and palace maids saw this situation, they desperately ran away. However, they were instantly grabbed onto by the black tentacles and dragged into the crack. And after that, the black tentacles no longer made any sounds. Qin Yutong cried out in surprise. Ultraman! This is definitely an extremely big Ultraman. This time, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji did not refuse. Looking at the situation, the black tentacles indeed seemed to be an extremely big Ultraman. After all, the entire imperial palace was covered by the black tentacles, and it was extremely terrifying. Gradually, those black tentacles seemed to have gained a life of their own, and they knew how to crawl on their own. However, Qinya discovered that those black tentacles were all moving towards a single point. Sure enough, it was just like what Qinya had guessed. All of the black matter were moving towards a single point, and the black matter seemed to be moving towards a single point. Such a huge black matter, from Qinya's perspective, at the very least, it should be an extremely huge fellow. However, on the contrary, those black matter were gradually compressing, and in the end they formed into the size of a normal person. Daji looked at the humanoid figure that was not far away from her, and the black mist that was covering her body gradually fell off, revealing her true form. For women, for pairs of beautiful eyes stared fixedly at the humanoid figure. The women's gossipy hearts were ignited. After all, that humanoid figure looked so powerful. Why was it sealed here? End of this chapter. Chapter 822. As the black mist fell off, a masculine body was exposed in the air. This was a man. Furthermore, he was an extremely handsome man. His silver hair slowly floated behind his head. His limbs were slender, his eyes were calm, and his expression was as calm as still water. Black armor gradually condensed on the man's body. In an instant, it covered his entire body, leaving only his head. A black spear appeared in his right hand. Such a man. He was clad in black armor, and his silver hair fluttered in the wind. Heavens! Too cool. Qin Yutong mumbled. This kind of pretentiousness, he is almost catching up to brother-in-law. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads. What Qin Yutong said is absolutely right. This man's temperament is almost catching up to Yihua's. It seems like he doesn't put anyone in his eyes at all. It was as though he could destroy everything with a wave of his hand. His aura was just like a torrential river. This was what was truly terrifying. This person is very strong, Qinye said gravely. For Qinye to say that he is very strong, then he must be really strong. Qin Yutong also stopped smiling. Big sister, this man is indeed very strong. Do you want to go and call brother-in-law? Don't call him all the time. We need to save face too. Donghuang Baiji pouted her mouth. I am not a vase, I can also provide help to my husband. If I have to call out Yihua every time I am in danger, I would really become a vase. A vase that only knows how to satisfy a man on the bed. Sister Baiji, there's nothing wrong with your words. Let me try. Qin Yutong was already impatient. Ever since the system opened up all of the things in the shopping mall, I still haven't tried them out yet. When Daji heard this, she said respectfully, Madam, just leave it to me. Daji, be obedient and let me fight this time. It wasn't easy for me to come across a strong opponent. If I don't fight, my hands would be itching. Seems like Qin Yutong was also infected by Yihua and became battle-hungry. Daji looked at Qinye and Donghuang Baiji. Seems like in Daji's heart, these two are the main concubines. Seeing that the two main palace ladies had acquiesced, Daji retreated and stood behind. Right now, Qin Yutong slowly descended and stood in front of the man. And the man silently looked at Qin Yutong, who was descending. Handsome, are you alone? Qin Yutong asked curiously. The man's pair of eyes that were as calm as water did not have a single ripple, and even when facing a woman like Qin Yutong, he did not have a single bit of astonishment. Miss, I have no intention of harming you. Please go back. The man said softly. His voice was very pleasant to listen to, with a bit of magnetism and charm. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was a girl killer. The four women heard the man's words. If it was in the past, they would definitely think that he was pretending. But facing this man, the four women felt that he was speaking very seriously, because he had that kind of strength. Don't you want to hurt me? Qin Yutong asked curiously. After finished speaking, Qinye felt that what Qinye said was a bit weird. Qinye wished that she could knock on her little sister's head. Can't you use your brain before speaking? However, the man didn't seem to think that much and said softly, there's no need for that. Qin Yutong was a little displeased. In any case, Daji was still watching, and if I, the wife, were to be defeated, it would be a loss of face. Not only did she embarrass herself, but she also embarrassed her brother-in-law. Then can you tell me who you are? Why was he sealed here? Qin Yutong asked curiously. Such a powerful person, it was important to ask about his background. The man seemed to be puzzled for a moment, then sunk into his memories. After quite a while the man said, I forgot. The corner of Qin Yutong's mouth twitched. This is still a handsome guy who doesn't have any memories? Then do you still remember what you are called? Qin Yutong was not willing to give up and asked again. This time the man blurted out, Su Diao. Hearing these two names, the four women felt that it was very strange. Su Diao? Is he my husband's subordinate? Because I feel that he has that kind of strength. Do you still remember what you are? Or are you someone's subordinate? Qin Yutong asked again. I remember that back then, Yi Zizi told me that back then. She had also forgotten about it, and that was why she fought with her brother-in-law and suffered a crushing defeat. Subordinate? Su Jiao laughed lightly, seemingly feeling that it was very funny. I am a guardian, Su Jiao said casually. When this sentence came out, it was as if the entire imperial palace was lifted up by someone, then pressed down fiercely. Even the temperature of the air rose by quite a bit. Qin Yutong's originally relaxed beautiful face also became heavy. Even the three women in the sky were the same. The entire Azure Dragon Empire seemed to have been enveloped by a powerful Duki. Yi Hua, who was currently fishing, slowly opened his eyes, then turned his head around and looked towards the direction of the imperial palace. Brother ? Wan Yiwen also felt this terrifying pressure. Look, all the fishes in the pond are flipping over. Yi Hua did not say anything, took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. It is good to let these women suffer a loss. There is always someone stronger than you. However, I have to let them suffer a loss. After all, these women are not to be trifled with. Yi Hua leaned on the bamboo chair, looked at the starry sky, and breathed out a lump of smoke. There are quite a lot of powerful individuals in this world. I wonder which power this person belongs to. Within the imperial palace, Qin Yutong became very careful, because the person in front of her was really very strong. At least, he was the strongest person that I have ever met. You are a guardian? What are you guarding? Why are you sealed? Qin Yutong questioned. From this point, it could be seen that this Su Jiao was not brother-in-law's subordinate, but rather some guardian. When Su Jiao heard Qin Yutong's question, he seemed to have sunk into deep thought again, then said gravely, I don't know. Qinya, who was flying in the sky, said doubtfully, I heard from Yi Hua that the different races are being chased by the humans, and this person is also a different race, but why is he a guardian? Furthermore, why is he so strong? I don't know. Donghuang Baiji also used the same tone to say that she didn't know. Daji, do you know? Qinya asked Daji. Daji said respectfully, Madam, Daji has never heard of a guardian either. Donghuang Baiji said gravely, since he is a guardian, then he is definitely guarding something or someone. From the strength of this guardian, it can be seen that the thing that he is guarding is definitely very strong. Donghuang Baiji's deduction caused Qinya to nod her head. This kind of person is very pitiful. This guardian is probably the most formidable person that has ever appeared in the world. At the very least, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji felt that this guardian is the most formidable person that has ever appeared in the world. Su Jiao took a look at Qin Yutong, then turned around, seemingly not wanting to have any contact with Qin Yutong. Wait a moment, we have not fought yet. Qin Yutong hurriedly shouted. However, at the same time that Qin Yutong shouted, the system suddenly appeared. Master, this person is very strong. You have to be careful when dealing with him. Even the system has reminded me to be careful, so Qin Yutong wouldn't be careless. Give me a weapon that has the thickest defense and the strongest attack. In any case, today is my Qin Yutong's first battle. I have something on today, so I came late. I apologize to everyone. End of chapter. Chapter 823. All right, Master. I will immediately put it on for you. Qin Yutong could be seen opening up both of her arms and carrying an intoxicated smile, seemingly wanting to shock everyone. What happened next was indeed shocking enough. A huge mecha warrior could be seen emerging from the mecha. The mecha warrior was holding onto an enormous glowing axe with both of its hands, and Qin Yutong was currently in the cockpit. Everyone. Qin Yutong was also stupefied. The defense is thick enough, and the weapon is thick enough. Can you give me a more normal one? Qin Yutong rolled her eyes and said, Luckily, only my family members are here today, and there is no one else. All right, Master. The huge mecha warrior instantly disappeared, and Qin Yutong landed on the ground. She was wearing a red skin-tight armor that wrapped around her alluring body, and there was nothing wrong with her curvaceous body, especially that perky butt. Yi Hua loved to pat it the most. Meanwhile, in Qin Yutong's hands, there was a pink glowing stick. Qing Yutong's face immediately darkened. What did you give me? An electric stick. Master, have you ever seen such a long electric stick before? Aya, you still dare to talk back to me. Master, this set of armor is the most popular in recent years. It is made using an unknown metal, and it is able to be carried and is beautiful. It is specially made for beautiful ladies, and this glowing and long electric stick, no lightsaber, is also a product that was researched recently. Believe in the system will not lie to you. Qing Yutong was speechless. Seeing that Su Diao was about to leave, she didn't have much time to think and immediately took the electric stick and slashed towards Su Diao. However, in just an instant, the lightsaber emitted out a terrifying light, and the entire Azure Dragon Empire seemed as if it was going to be illuminated. The terrifying aura struck towards the top of Su Diao's head, causing the silver hair on his back to flutter crazily. Seeing this situation, Qing Yutong didn't blame the system anymore. This electric stick is indeed very powerful. It is almost catching up to brother-in-law's treasures. Qingya, where did your sister get so many strange things? Dong Huang Baiji, who was standing in the air, asked curiously. I don't know, Qingya said gravely. I feel that my sister has always been very mysterious. Just now, she actually made such a huge mecha, making me feel as if I have transmigrated. When I return, I must interrogate her properly. She is really hiding everything from Big Sister. When Daji saw her wife's heroic bearing, she was also impressed. Master's wife was indeed impressive. And on the stage, Qing Yutong's delicate body leaped high up into the air, and her powerful aura spread out crazily. And Su Diao stopped his footsteps, then turned around to face Qing Yutong with a kind of strange posture. Qing Yutong looked at that handsome face, and her expression became even heavier, because this man was just like her brother-in-law. He didn't have any excessive reaction at all. But right now there was no other way to think of. Qing Yutong ruthlessly hacked down. Boom boom boom. 1/3 of the entire imperial palace suddenly collapsed. However, this was only the collapse of the surrounding areas, and the soles of Su Ying's feet were still intact. How is this possible? Qingya cried out. Although Dong Huang Baiji didn't say anything, she was also shocked. It was the same for Daji. Su Diao raised his left hand and grabbed the pink electric stick. The dragon claw-like gloves and the electric baton emitted crackling sounds of thunder and lightning, but it was still easily caught by Su Diao. Qing Yutong's entire person didn't feel good, and she shouted crazily in her heart. System, is this the strongest or not? Master, this is really the strongest. It's not that the system isn't strong, it's that the opponent is too strong. Qing Yutong, I've said it before. I don't want to fight. Su Diao let go of the electric baton and said slowly, as if he was giving Qing Yutong a final warning. Qing Yutong was angry. Ever since I have the system, when have I ever been looked down upon like this? Furthermore, after I followed brother-in-law, no one dared to look down upon me. Everyone was respectful towards me. And right now there is actually a person who disdains to fight with me. Furthermore, he is even looking down on me. Purple and green 7 kills. Qing Yutong was angry. Looking down on me is equivalent to looking down on brother-in-law. How can I do that? Brother-in-law, don't be afraid. Sister-in-law will help you regain back your face. This purple and green 7 kills is known to be one of the strongest martial skills in the system. It will definitely be able to injure me. Qing Yutong could be seen thrusting his sword out in a ghostly manner. The electric baton in Qing Yutong's hand shone brightly, and the electric baton soared straight into the clouds. However, this was only the first sword. There is still 6 more to go. Su Diao's expression sunk, and with a flip of his hand, he grabbed onto the electric baton. His speed was so fast that it made one speechless. This kind of speed was much faster than Qing Yutong's by a lot, as expected of a man with fast hand speed. He definitely has an advantage in battle. This sword attack of Qing Yutong's was very terrifying, but looking at the other party grabbing onto the electric baton, Qing Yutong's entire body didn't feel good. This is blatantly looking down on me. To the point where he doesn't even need to use any techniques to deal with me. Pa! A strong wave of air immediately spread out, and Su Diao's left hand tightly grabbed onto the electric baton. Even if Qin Yutong wanted to pull away, the strength of the other party was too great, and there was basically no way for her to do so. I have already said it. Why didn't you listen to me? Su Jiao slowly raised his head and looked towards Qin Yutong, then swung his left hand backwards. Qin Yutong shouted out loudly, and her delicate body was like an intercontinental missile, crashing into the entrance from the center of the palace, and the entire place was instantly filled with dust. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were a little dumbfounded. This man's strength is already beyond our imagination. He is able to shake Qin Yutong off with just a single hand. He is not just ordinary formidable. It can be said that he is very, very formidable. Qin Yutong, who was within the ruins, felt dizzy from the fall. Luckily, I am wearing this kind of armor. If not, I would have really lost face. Patting off the dust on her body, Qin Yutong lightly leaped, and once again arrived in front of Su Jiao. Then used Doom's eyes. Fight again. I am going to kill you. Su Jiao's tone finally changed, and it was now filled with overflowing killing intent, as if Qin Yutong was his enemy. Qingya, don't let Yutong act recklessly, Donghuang Baiji said gravely. This Su Jiao has already surpassed her by too much, and I even feel that he is not using his full strength at all. Qingya also knew about this, and she shouted out towards her little sister. Yutong, come back. Don't mess around. Qin Yutong was unwilling to accept this. My first battle actually ended in defeat. If brother-in-law were to know about this, I will definitely become a laughing stock. However, I still have an ultimate technique that I have yet to use. Or perhaps I should change my weapon and use it to counter his weapon. Qin Yutong frantically thought of a way, but she was not sure. If I were to use that ultimate technique, it would be rather terrifying. Should I let him off first? Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had no other choice but to descend and capture Su Jiao. Qin Yutong shouted out. Don't pull me, I can fight, let go, I want to fight one-on-one. While provoking Qin Yutong was being dragged away by her big sister. Su Jiao looked at the few women, and did not chase after them. Instead, he turned around and walked towards the entrance of the palace. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:24. Qin Yutong covered her face with her hand. Just now, I lost my face, and it was so embarrassing. If it wasn't for big sister stepping forward, I wouldn't have been able to get out of this embarrassing situation. Who asked you to show off? Now you've made a fool of yourself. Qingya said snappily. Her brows were tightly wrinkled as she looked at the back view of Yi Hua. Perhaps, only Yi Hua would be able to defeat Yi Hua. Qingya, don't blame Yutong anymore. It seems that, we aren't a match for her. Donghuang Baiji teased. It was unknown whether she was joking or not. After all, within Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's body, there were bloodline effects. Furthermore, they were two different types of bloodlines, and Qin Yutong did not have this kind of advantage. Sigh, I will definitely be criticized by Yi Hua when I return. Qingya said helplessly. Donghuang Baiji said with a smile. Don't you all know about Yi Hua? He knew about it long ago, but he just didn't come. It seems like he wants to see us make a fool of ourselves. This man just loves to bully us. Qingya laughed lightly, looking at that black back view, her eyebrows tightly wrinkled. Just what kind of guardian was this person? He was so powerful. Yutong's performance just now was already very abnormal, but this man was even more powerful. It was too strange. After all, it was even more difficult to explain why such a person was sealed. Daji, what are your chances of winning against him? Qingya asked curiously. Daji was silent for a moment, then said, 40%. That was Daji's conservative estimate. In actuality, in Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's hearts, they only had a score of 5 out of 5, and that was only a conservative estimate. After all, right now, they were still unclear of this man's true strength. This caused Qingya and Donghuang Baiji to recall the masked man back then. Absolute heaven. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt that Su Jiao and Zhu Tian would be able to fight against each other. As for the outcome of the fight, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were not sure. For Su Jiao to be able to fight against Yi Hua's 7 deadly sins, it could be seen that Su Jiao was truly powerful. This kind of strength did not depend on the innate talent of Nan Wuqi's race. It was unreasonably strong. Let's go back first and see what Yihua has to say, Qingye said tenderly. Meeting with such a powerful fellow, I can only rely on my husband. I really have no choice. Qing Yutong said with a crying face. That big sister Baiji, help me keep this a secret, it's too shameful. You still know how to lose face? Later on, when we go back, you have to properly explain to me why you came up with so many strange things. Qingye pinched onto her little sister's cheek. All right, Yutong promises to be honest. Qing Yutong said helplessly. In her heart, she was in a bad mood as well. In fact, Qing Yutong could still fight if she wanted to, but if she really fought, the innocent commoners of the Azure Dragon Empire might suffer a calamity, so she didn't continue to fight. After all, this kind of fight would affect a very wide range. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji had also considered this problem. Thus, they did not continue to pester him. After all, if he wanted to win, he would have to unleash his ultimate move. Once he unleashed his ultimate move, the entire Azure Dragon Empire would be wiped out. Besides, it's not like the other party wants to fight me, and there isn't any deep hatred between me and the other party. On the other side, Yihua stood up and walked towards the door. Brother ? Where are you going? Wani asked curiously. I'm going out for a walk. Let me know when they come back. All right, leave it to me. Yihua walked out of one residence and walked towards the street. Not long after Yihua left, Qingye and the others returned. Wani, where's my man? Qingye looked at the empty bamboo chair and asked curiously. Sister ? Brother ? Just went out for a while. He told me to inform you all. Wani said respectfully. The three women revealed an as expected expression, while Daji had a worried expression on her face. However, when she thought about how powerful her master was, she felt slightly better. To be able to become her master, that person must definitely be very powerful. Yihua walked on the street of the Azure Dragon Empire. A lot of people were standing on the street and looking towards the palace. Because a rumbling sound came from the palace just now, a lot of people didn't know what happened and were currently whispering to each other. A man dressed in black armor appeared on the street and walked towards the restaurant at the side. Soon after, the man sat on the wooden table, ordered a pot of hot wine, and started drinking silently. Yihua walked into the restaurant unhurriedly, looked towards the man, then sat opposite to the man. The two of them who seemed to be able to destroy the world were sitting beside a wooden table. This was a bit unimaginable. The man sensed Yihua's arrival, but he still continued sipping on his wine. Yihua didn't say anything and continued smoking his cigarette. Towards a powerful opponent, Yihua still showed respect. At the very least, he let the man drink this pot of hot wine. Gradually, Su Diao finished drinking the wine, then said gravely, You are very powerful. You are not bad too. Yihua said faintly. Those 4 ladies are your wives, right? Su Diao asked faintly. 3, one of them is my maid. Yihua said faintly. The 2 cold men sitting together attracted a lot of attention. Even if the ladies didn't want to drink wine, they still came in and sat down. Those 2 men were very handsome, but they had different styles. One was dressed in armor, and the other was dressed in a gorgeous robe, and the other was dressed in a natural and unrestrained style. This made the ladies very confused, just who was more handsome. Some of them who liked the temptation of the armor looked at Su Diao, while some of them who liked the unrestrained style looked at Yihua. Afterward, all of them revealed an expression of infatuation. Even if there were a lot of people running outside, and some of them were even panicking, these ladies all wanted to look at the handsome man. Your wives are very powerful. Su Diao gave a very high evaluation. Under my attack, the 2 of them were able to remain completely unscathed. The 2 of them were already able to obtain my respect. Yihua said indifferently. They are just like that, they are still able to beat up kittens and puppies. If Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were to hear what Yihua said, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji would definitely fly into a rage. Don't go to bed, sleep on the floor. Plain Eagle paused for a moment, and then stood up. Did I allow you to leave? Yihua said faintly. What do you want? Su Diao looked towards Yi Hua, and his tone was still as calm as before. There wasn't any sign of him being angered. Yi Hua said calmly, I can see that your skills are not bad. My team needs a talent like you. Sorry, I don't want to join any of the teams you mentioned, Su Diao said softly. *CK me. This was the first time they had invited someone to join their team, and they had actually been rejected. Hee, what big guts you have. If it wasn't for the fact that I cherished talents, I would have made a move long ago. After all, Su Diao's style met the requirements. He wasn't the type of player who liked to show off. He was a normal person. Do you know that this is a sign of disrespect towards me? Yi Hua's tone gradually became deep. I know, but I don't want to join. Yi Hua was a bit annoyed. This guy is really not giving me any face at all. Compete? Yi Hua said in a deep voice. All right. Su Diao slowly sat down. The two men stared at each other with their eyes wide open. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:25. The atmosphere at the scene was a little stifling, as if a single spark could set the entire place ablaze. When the women present saw such men looking at each other, they were a little sad. They really wished that they could sit opposite them and be looked at like this. Furthermore, he was afraid that if they looked at each other like this, they would suddenly do something crazy. That would be really scary. Just like a sudden kiss. Yi Hua looked at the plain sculpture. Su Diao looked at Yi Hua. Yi Hua didn't expect that this man would actually be able to act normal under my gaze. If it were his subordinates, they would have lowered their heads long ago, not daring to look him in the eye. However, this man could actually hold on for so long. He was indeed amazing. Su Diao's current performance caused Yi Hua to be a bit surprised. After all, it was hard to find a strong opponent, and for such a strong opponent to suddenly appear, Yi Hua was quite interested in him. Recently, my luck is really quite good. Not only is it a maid, but it's also a powerful opponent. Please give me a dozen of such opponents. You are just playing with me. You don't have the qualifications. Today, let me test your strength. At this time, Su Diao was also very shocked. Although this man had not released any dou qi, he still exuded a sense of oppression. He really was a very powerful man. Seeing the fighting spirit in his opponent's eyes, Su Diao's heart was also filled with fighting spirit. Only such an opponent would be interesting. What was the point of fighting with a woman? In fact, Su Diao didn't want to fight with women. In his heart, only men were worthy of fighting on the battlefield. Yi Hua and Su Diao could be seen making their moves. The women at the scene let out a shriek, then couldn't help but cover their mouths. What are we doing? On the wooden table, both of them stretched out their right hands at the same time, and held each other tightly. To be able to understand each other's thoughts just by communicating with their eyes, as expected of an expert. This was everyone's guess. This was arm wrestling. Yi Hua looked at Su Diao with a profound gaze. And while Su Diao's gaze was as calm as water, the waves in his heart were still very big. This man was so strong. He couldn't move it at all. Meanwhile, Yi Hua was also very shocked in his heart. My strength is actually unable to move it. The two of them seemed to be useless, but they were already exerting their strength, wanting to bring each other down. Adding on the fact that there wasn't much expression on their faces, this made everyone feel that they were only shaking hands, or perhaps they were only thinking, touch the other party's palm. What an evil pair of men. Back mountain. The arm wrestling continued. If someone were to look closely, they would see that their elbows did not touch the table. Even their postures were very normal. I really should respect you. You are very strong. Su Diao said lightly. He had never lost to anyone in terms of strength, but today he was unexpectedly unable to put down his opponent. In terms of strength, Yi Hua felt that only Yi Zizi was stronger than him. However, this man was actually more or less the same as him. This is truly unimaginable and hard to believe. Both of them released their hands at the same time. Yi Hua said faintly, since you respect me, then join my group. You will be able to obtain better development. I'm sorry, but I still can't agree to your request. I also won't join any team. Su Diao was just that willful. He spoke those words from his heart. Seems like there's no other way to compete like this. Why don't we change it to something else? Yihua said faintly. Arm wrestling was unable to prove anything, only actual combat could prove one's worth. Su Diao's fighting spirit was also aroused, and he didn't reject Yihua's proposal. After reaching an agreement, the two of them walked out of the tavern and gradually disappeared into the streets. Two such good-looking men were gone. All the women sighed. Such men could only be found in the sky. Therefore, as long as a man was good-looking, he would similarly be able to enjoy that kind of stunning gazes. Right now, Yihua and Su Diao had already left Azure Dragon Empire and were standing on a piece of land that had already dried up. A light breeze was blowing at the dust, and of course Su Diao's silver hair was also blowing at the dust. Since you aren't willing to join my group, I reckon that you have already joined another group, right? Yihua asked lightly. I forgot, I am just a guardian. Regarding guardians, Yihua still didn't know about them. After all, he wasn't present at the scene and similarly, he also hadn't heard of guardians. What are you guarding? I don't know. Then what do you know? Yihua asked gravely. A guardian is already so powerful, then wouldn't the thing that he is guarding, or his boss, be even more powerful? Thinking up to here, Yihua seemed to have another thought. Su Diao said lightly, I don't know anything. Meeting a powerhouse that doesn't know anything is indeed a bit of a headache. Then what are you planning to do? I want to go to the place that I want to go. This answer made Yihua slightly satisfied. At least, I have a destination. Yihua could be seen taking out a piece of jade and throwing it to Su Diao. Su Diao caught the piece of jade and revealed a puzzled look in his eyes. If you come across something that you can't handle, crush it, I can come over and help you. Yihua said faintly. Rather than saying that he was going to help, it would be better to say that he was going over to take a look at what this guardian was guarding. Su Diao paused for a moment, then kept the piece of jade and said, if there is a need for that. Don't think too much, I still have to test your skills. If not, even if you crush it, I still won't appear. Yihua said gravely. Su Diao waved the black spear in his hand and locked his gaze onto Yihua. Then let me see your strength. Yihua snorted lightly, then a set of white armor instantly condensed on his body, and a silver spear appeared in his hand. The white armor emitted a bright and resplendent light, seemingly wanting to illuminate the entire night sky. Meanwhile, the silver spear in Yihua's hand emitted a dazzling golden light, and there seemed to be golden electric currents that were connected to the spear from the ground. You are indeed stronger than your wife. Su Diao said gravely while looking at Yihua, who was in such a state. The silver spear in Yihua's hand pierced straight into the sky, and a huge whirlpool could be seen appearing in the sky. Boom. A golden shield could be seen falling down from the whirlpool, and Yihua grabbed onto the shield with his left hand. They are just kind-hearted, that's all. Yihua slightly narrowed his eyes, and his battle intent was already surging out. Su Diao slightly bowed his body and said, I know. The two stared at each other once again, and their bodies shot out explosively. The silver spear and black spear collided with each other, and at this moment, the entire world seemed to have become silent. The terrifying battle chi turned into astral winds and swept all over the place. The sky rumbled and lightning flashed. However, only the heavens were the spectators of this battle. After an unknown amount of time, the two men seemed to have stopped fighting. Yihua's face was brimming with comfort, as if he had done a rather refreshing warm-up exercise. This Su Diao is indeed a good sparring partner. My subordinates don't dare to go all out and fight with me anymore. You are truly very strong. I am not your opponent. Su Diao said lightly. While smoking, Yihua said indifferently, Are you trying to flatter me? No, I am just lamenting. End of this chapter. Chapter 826. After throwing away the cigarette butt, Yihua said lightly, My promise to you remains unchanged. Crush the jade piece and I will count it as your sparring fee. After finished speaking, Yihua disappeared. Su Diao stood on the spot for a moment, then walked towards a direction with a gloomy expression. This Su Diao is truly a mysterious man. Yihua appeared at the entrance of one residence again, and slowly walked towards it. He seemed to be in a good mood in the garden. The 4 women were waiting for him. When he wasn't there. "Master, you are back." When Daji saw that her master had returned, she hurriedly bowed down and shouted. Yihua walked to the side and patted Daji's head. "Get up." Being patted on the head by her master, Daji became shy. "Thank you, master." "Where did you go?" Qingye asked curiously. Yihua yawned. "Nothing much, I just went out for a walk." "You fought, right?" Donghuang Baiji smiled lightly. "I really can't hide anything from them." It was quite a comfortable fight. Yihua sat beside Qing Yutong and pinched her cheeks. Seems like she doesn't want to admit defeat. "Brother-in-law, did you kill that person?" Qing Yutong asked curiously. Daji knelt at the side and listened while making tea. "Master is very powerful." Yihua shook his head. Yihua's attitude made the women very curious. To actually not kill that person, this is simply a miracle. "I let him go." "Why? This isn't your style." Qingye asked puzzledly. "I let him go just so that the future will be more exciting. How would you all understand?" Yihua took the tea that Daji brewed and lightly blew on it. "Not bad." Donghuang Baiji snorted. "You are amazing, we are just a foil to you." "And your majesty is a bit angry today, let me console you later." "Go and die, who needs your consolation?" Donghuang Baiji said shyly. Daji is still here. At this moment, Wani ran over. "Brother?" "The room is ready." "Alright, you go and sleep first." After Wani left, Yihua directly hugged onto Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's waist. "What are you doing?" Qingye said angrily. "I just complained about him tonight, and he is indeed like this." "I am sleeping, what else can I do?" "You can continue sleeping," Donghuang Baiji hurriedly said. Yihua laughed lightly. "You all still don't know, right? I have a helper now. Yutong, help your big sister push her, but later." "Alright," Qing Yutong bounced over, and with a look of, "I am brother-in-law's little accomplice," Qing Yutong said. "Qing Yutong, you dare?" Qingye shouted out shyly. On the other hand, Qing Yutong was very open about it. "Big sister, you are the one who pushed me, your little sister, to brother-in-law. You should have already thought about such a day long ago." "You." While Yihua was laughing heartily, a man and 3 women walked into the room. As for what was going to happen, any normal person should be able to guess it. After all, this was the dream of every man. Daji stood outside and slowly closed the door. Then, she stood at the door and waited on Daji while thinking to herself, "When will I be able to Aya? What am I thinking? Master's body is priceless, and I'm just a maid. How can I sully Master's body? This is too wrong." Not long after, a low moan could be heard coming from the room. Daji bit her lip and set up a barrier. It was fine for her to listen to such a voice. Forget about others. However, if one were to listen to such a sound for a long time, it would also cause fatal damage to Daji. She was almost unable to stand still. On this day, the sun was shining brightly in the Azure Dragon Empire. However, after a night of devastation, the entire imperial palace had been reduced to rubble. I heard that when Emperor Gupai woke up and saw that his imperial palace had become like this, he was immediately angered to death. With the death of the emperor, the entire Azure Dragon Empire sank into grief and indignation. After all, the one who died was their emperor and not someone else. When Crown Prince Gu Haoran heard this news, he almost jumped out of his seat. He was definitely going to be the emperor. In one residence, Yihua sat on the side of the bed and massaged his neck. "Last night was really tough. It was my first time trying to fly 3 times, and I felt a little sore in my waist." I turned around and looked at the bed. He saw 3 breathtakingly beautiful women sleeping soundly with deep satisfaction on their lips. Seeing that his woman was satisfied, Yihua also felt a sense of accomplishment. A man should let his woman be satisfied. "Master, are you awake?" Daji, who was outside the door, heard the voice and asked carefully. "Okay, get me some water to wash my face." "Okay, master." After putting on his clothes, Yihua did a set of radio calisthenics and felt much better. This set of radio calisthenics is something that I have to do frequently, It will be able to train my waist to become straight. After all, the three women on the bed are not to be trifled with. Not long later, Daji carried the water and placed it on the shelf, then stood respectfully at the side to serve Yi Hua. The corners of Daji's eyes couldn't help but look towards the bed. Of course, I also saw the madams. Even when sleeping, the madams would reveal a smile. The madams should be very happy. My master is very strong in all aspects. Let's go out for a walk and eat breakfast. Yi Hua said faintly. What about the madams? They won't wake up so quickly. Yi Hua was confident in his own battle strength. I reckon that the madams will only wake up at noon. Yi Hua directly brought Daji out of the house. Daji still wore a veil. After all, her appearance would still cause unnecessary trouble. And her master was a kind-hearted person who wouldn't kill anyone. While walking on the street, Yi Hua heard the conversations of the people. The emperor actually died. This is a bit unexpected. The important thing is that the emperor died from anger. This is rather shocking. The emperor seemed to have died from anger due to the people from 3 Absolute Palace. Do you guys think that the people from 3 Absolute Palace will come? Or perhaps it is the people from King Ren prison? I don't know. I heard that prison warden Chu disappeared last night, and 3 Absolute Palaces Huayang doesn't seem to admit what happened last night. There is such a thing? That Huayang actually doesn't admit that he was the one who destroyed the imperial palace. That's right. The emperor was indirectly angered to death by him. This 3 Absolute Palace is too arrogant. They are actually so lawless. Who asked them to be 3 Absolute Palace? Angering an emperor to death is a piece of cake for them. However, there must be justice, right? Justice? Strength is justice. If you don't have strength, then just obediently lower your head and don't speak. Listening to the conversations around him, Yi Hua continued to look for breakfast. This 3 Absolute Palace and King Ren prison shouldn't be here for the man from last night. The appearance of the man from last night should be an accident. They are definitely here for something else. This is a bit interesting. Just what are these 2 big powers looking for? Based on my previous opinion, they should be looking for techniques or weapons. In any case, they should be looking for things that are beneficial to me. End of this chapter. Chapter 827. Walking on the street for a while, Yi Hua didn't find anything delicious to eat. If I had known earlier, I would have brought that fellow blood demon along with me. After all, only blood demon would be able to make different flavors. Or perhaps it was the soup dumplings or steamed dumplings, or even the seaweed soup with chicken sauce. Just thinking about it makes me salivate. That's right, Daji. Do you know how to make breakfast? Yi Hua had forgotten that there was a maid behind him. Daji was very happy to finally hear her master's instructions. Master, Daji will make breakfast. Master can eat whatever you want. Oh, do you know how to make pancakes? The kind with eggs and ham. Daji was stunned when she heard her master's words. He had learned all kinds of knowledge and skills in order to serve his master. However, he didn't understand his master's request at all. Even less so. Shame. A wave of shame spread in Daji's heart, and the eyes under the veil were crying. Master, Daji actually doesn't know how to do what you said. Master, please grant me death. Daji no longer has the face-to-face master. Yi Hua. This Daji was good at everything, but she was too serious. How big of a deal was it? Don't keep on dying. If you don't understand, just learn well. Master won't blame you. Yi Hua said faintly. He patted on Daji's head and continued walking forward. Daji stared blankly at her master's back view. Master actually didn't blame me, and even consoled me. My God. Why do I have such a good master? This is truly a gift from the heavens to me. Furthermore, just now, Master patted on my head again, and even told me to learn. At that moment, Daji secretly swore in her heart that she would definitely learn everything and serve her master well. When her master asked her next time, she would be able to answer happily. He knew everything. After calming herself down, Daji jogged to catch up with her master, and followed behind him respectfully. She looked up at her master's broad shoulders and imposing back. At a small stall, Feng Yun was eating porridge, but at this moment, he had a ferocious expression on his face. They had heard everything that they had just said. His orange card Daji actually begged his new master to grant him death. The reason was that he didn't know how to make a stuffed jianbing. She really is a stinking whore, licking up to that man. Wait until I, Feng Yun, become strong, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. That's not right. Fruit jianbing? How did this man know about pancakes? And you even added eggs and ham. Could it be? Feng Yun's mouth gaped open slightly. Could it be that this man was the same as himself? He was also someone who had been reborn. If that was the case, then it made sense. He definitely has a system on him as well, and he must have used the system to interfere with my own system. Otherwise, why would the countdown timer that was supposed to be a few hours turned into 1 minute? He must definitely be playing tricks on me. He had destroyed his own system and made Daji acknowledge him as her master. This man was so hateful. If he didn't take revenge, he wouldn't be a gentleman. Don't think that I won't kill you just because we're from the same hometown. Sure enough, it was just like the saying, when fellow countrymen meet fellow countrymen, there are 2 knives in the back. However, Feng Yun was also wondering why he wasn't the only one who had been reborn. Could it be that there were many people like him in the Kangluo continent? This didn't make sense, right? Group crossing? If that was the case, he would have to be careful. System, come out and explain to me. Are there many systems like yours? Feng Yun asked in a deep voice, as if he had never asked such a question before. Master, of course there are many systems. What? Why didn't you say so earlier? Feng Yun said angrily. If he had said it earlier, he would have been more vigilant. How could such a thing have happened? Master, you didn't ask. Feng Yun felt that he would be angered to death by the system sooner or later, just like the emperor. Explain it to me, Feng Yun asked in a deep voice. Master, the system will screen out the host and give the host the benefits, thereby fulfilling the host's wishes. What about you? What kind of system are you? Is there a level distinction? Feng Yun asked. Master, the system has no level distinction, but there are versions. The higher the upgraded version, the more powerful it will be. In the system world, there is only one system that has been upgraded to the highest version. It is the benchmark of our system world. When the system said this, it had infinite admiration. Feng Yun also felt heavy after listening to it. There was actually a highest version. It couldn't be that man, right? Do you know who the host is? Master, these are all confidential. What about you? What version are you now? Master, I am now in version 2. Version 2. Feng Yun felt that it was okay, at least not the original version like 1. What is the highest version? Feng Yun asked curiously. That is the ultimate hybrid version 9. The system said with excitement. However, as the master, Feng Yun wasn't excited at all. Ultimate hybrid version 9. F***CK. What is the use of it? You can use the items in the shop as you wish. You don't have to pay any price. This time Feng Yun was excited. You can use it as you wish. You don't have to pay any price. If that's the case, wouldn't I be able to draw 10 times in a row? I don't have to be afraid of not being able to draw orange cards anymore. There's nothing that I can't do by rushing to 648. Feng Yun asked excitedly. Then, how can I upgrade to that level? Master, I am currently in version 2. After upgrading, I will be enhanced version 2. After upgrading again, I will be enhanced max. After upgrading again, I will be enhanced version 2. After upgrading again, I will be enhanced version 2. After upgrading again, I will be enhanced version 2. After upgrading again, I will be enhanced version 2. After upgrading again, I will be enhanced version 2. After upgrading again, I will be enhanced version 2. After upgrading again, I will be enhanced version 2. Finally, I will be enhanced version 2. After hearing this, Feng Yun felt that there was no peak in life anymore. There was no climax anymore. Then, how did other people manage to get to the ultimate hybrid version 9.0? Fengyan didn't understand. Why is this the case? Master, there is a rumor in the system world. It is said that the system hugged onto someone powerful, and that's why the system directly adjusted it to the highest level. The system said in a low voice. Fengyan widened his eyes and said in horror, F***ck. In the end, is it this system that is hugging onto someone powerful, or is it your system world that is hugging onto someone powerful? I don't know about that. Master, it is better for you to hurry up and nurture the card, take it slowly. F***ck. Fengyan didn't know what to say anymore. He could only use F***ck to express his current feelings. Even the system world is so realistic, and I still want to hug onto someone powerful. This is simply refreshing my worldview. This is too inhumane. Looking at the white card that I summoned out, it is still a child right now, and it's still dripping with snot. My God, I really want to die. Master, I am not full yet. The little fellow looked towards its master pitifully. Just like how if you don't give me food to eat, I will cry. Fengyan was in despair. Other than knowing how to eat, what else can you do? End of chapter. Chapter 828. Other people are the female servants of the Supreme of the Law of the Heavens. And I don't even have any chi, and I only know how to eat. What's the use of eating? Master, don't be discouraged. The loyalty that is cultivated to you from a young age is very high. If you had cultivated Daji from a young age, things wouldn't have become like this. Right now, Daji has already been removed from the card pool, and you can no longer draw her. Hearing the system's words, Fengyan wanted to cry but had no tears. Because cultivating in the system was very cheap, I didn't summon Daji back then. If I had summoned Daji back then, after so many years, Daji's words would have been directed at me and not some other man. Just thinking about it makes me angry. The benefit of cultivating is that it can become an orange card. The strength that can be summoned directly is fixed. Therefore, Fengyan plans to cultivate one. After doing some missions, he can earn some points and draw 10 times in a row. Getting a purple card is not bad either. Yihua strolled around outside, and all he saw were steamed buns and meat buns. If not, he would be eating breakfast. I, the Supreme Overlord, don't have the habit of eating breakfast. Soon after, Yihua bought a meat bun, and he almost vomited. This meat is really meat, no seasoning at all, it's so hard. Also, how did you need the flour? This is too boring. If I were to open a breakfast shop here, I would be able to earn a lot. Wonton, steamed dumplings, soup dumplings, fried dough sticks, and so on. I reckon that I can even open a chain store here and sell them all over the Kangluo continent. It's a pity that I am not interested in money. Daji, let's go back and let the madams go and make breakfast. Yihua gave up on looking for breakfast. Daji had a look of shame on her face. Master, Daji will properly learn how to cook in the future. And learn more from the madams. Daji is ashamed. Yihua laughed lightly, then brought Daji back to Wan residence. Right now Wani was eating breakfast. He was actually eating. Big brother ? Do you want to come and eat? Wani smiled and greeted. Actually, Wani was the same. The breakfast outside was truly terrible, so he had no choice but to eat. After that he got used to it. Yihua said faintly, not eating. After finished speaking, he prepared to wake his wife up. Wani pursed his lips. Brother ? Was really aloof. It seemed like he should learn from him. He heard that aloof Prince Charming was more popular. Yihua walked into the room, and Daji stood outside and waited respectfully. My mood is not good. Other than master and madam, no one is to come and provoke me. If not, I, Daji, will flip out. After walking into the room, Yihua looked towards the bed. The three women did not seem to have the slightest bit of intention to get up. Yihua looked towards Qing Yutong, who was actually still snuggling up to her big sister like a child, while Donghuang Baiji was leaning on Qingya's fragrant shoulder. The two women surrounded Qingya. Yihua sat on the bed and looked at the three faces on the bed. It had to be said, even after looking at the three faces for a few years, I still have the feeling that my heart is moved. Even I, the supreme overlord, have been seduced by them, let alone other men. These 3 women are truly making me worried to death. Qingye, wake up. Yihua pinched onto Qingye's face, and the latter wrinkled her brows, then moved her face away from Yihua's face. Yihua seemed to be saying, I haven't slept enough yet, please don't disturb me. I also have a temper when I wake up. Seeing that Qingye was unable to sleep, Yihua could only pinch Donghuang Baiji. The latter was the same. After moving a bit, she went back to sleep. It seemed like Yutong was the only one left. Yutong, wake up. After Yihua shouted out, he felt that something was wrong. Yutong doesn't know how to cook at all, and if she were to cook, that would be poison. Brother-in-law, don't mess around. You have already stayed up all night, you are so tired. Qing Yutong hugged onto her big sister tightly. Even if you beat me to death, I won't get up. I, the Supreme Overlord, stayed up all night. Aren't you two still enjoying yourselves? Just who is the one who is tired? Yihua directly lifted off the blanket, and an exceptionally beautiful scene appeared. It seemed like this was the first time that the Supreme Overlord had seen such a scene, and he was a little unable to shift his gaze away from the scene. The 3 women on the bed could be seen opening their eyes, and 3 deathly gazes looked towards Yihua. Ouch! I, the Supreme Overlord, went through so much trouble to let you 3 feel comfortable, and I even woke you 3 up, and I even gave you 3 meaningful gazes. Do you believe that I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to domestic abuse you 3? Although Yihua was thinking like this, he still covered the 3 alluring bodies with the blanket. Women like these cannot even be looked at as thin air. And only I, the Supreme Overlord, am able to admire them. Whoever looks at them will die, not even fantasizing about them is allowed. After Yihua covered himself with the blanket, the 3 beautiful wives glared at Yihua. At least you are sensible. Wives, I'm hungry. Yihua said gravely. To be able to say a sentence of acting coquettishly in such a stiff manner, I reckon that there is only Yihua. I seem to have asked Yihua to act coquettishly twice, but that was to coax my wives. Thinking about how I act coquettishly, Yihua felt like vomiting. This is too disgusting. If you are hungry, then go and eat. Qingye mumbled. The food outside is not delicious, and I am not used to the breakfast here. Furthermore, the blood demon is not by my side, so only you and Baiji know how to cook. Then, don't you know how to learn how to cook? Why do you always want us to cook? Donghuang Baiji said petulantly, ordering my women all sorts of things, and then acting like a man. Yihua was very unconvinced, and he planned to properly reason with them. As a man, learning how to cook is so embarrassing. Furthermore, you are my wives, so cooking for me, your husbands, is only right and proper. Other people's husbands even cook for their wives. Look at you, you haven't even cooked once. Qingye snorted and said, other people's husbands dote on their wives. Just look at that Dofusher and Yihong. They are not like you, scolding people for no reason. Not doing things right here, not doing things right there, not even sleeping properly. Hearing that, Yihua became angry and said gravely, then go and be someone else's wife. After finished speaking, Yihua threw a tantrum and walked out of the room. To actually say that other people's husbands are good, I am simply angered to death. As expected, after hearing what Yihua said, the 3 women on the bed immediately opened their beautiful eyes. Before they even had the chance to explain, Yihua slammed the door and walked out of the room. Qingye held onto her forehead, feeling both angry and funny at the same time. He is already so old, yet he is still acting like a child. Big sister, you made brother-in-law angry. Qing Yutong poked her big sister. Donghuang Baiji said helplessly. Qingye, don't you know about Yihua's temper? He is petty, and he is also the king of jealousy. Sai, I was wrong, alright? The 2 of you are both helping him. Aren't the 2 of you good sisters who share weal and woe together? Especially you, Qing Yutong. Just what did you do last night? Is there anyone who messes around like you? Qing Yutong laughed. Didn't I make the 2 of you feel comfortable? Big sister, you didn't reject me at all. Qingye's face turned red. Thinking back to the absurdity of what happened last night, she felt drunk. I never would have thought that serving a man together with my little sister would be so passionate. I'm not going to talk nonsense with you anymore. I still have to go and coax that angry man. Jinya sat up. What a beautiful scene. End of chapter. That you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.